The weatherman has dialed in another picture-perfect day for the boys in blue to not only work up a perspiration, but also face the defending world champions. And Sportsnet LA presents live Los Angeles Dodgers baseball as they take on the defending world champion San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody. Rick Monday alongside Kevin Kennedy as we get set to go. The scene moves to the east part of the valley over to Scottsdale at Scottsdale Stadium. And for the Dodgers, they have seen a lot of players. Kevin Kennedy, so far, by my count this morning, we've seen 55 different position players see some action. And maybe none has made a stronger statement than Jock Peterson, who, by the way, in the starting lineup and in center field.
Well, he's done the job this spring. He's earned the job. He's not a guy that mailed it in. He was going to be the center fielder anyway. Most likely that's going to be named soon. And he just continues to hit for power, and I love these going opposite field. This was yesterday in the ball game against Shoemaker. That was a bomb to left center field. Considered the best defensive center fielder in the Dodgers organization. We saw that in the big leagues last year when he came up in a short stint, and we saw that yesterday with some fine plays, Rick.
Well, for Jock Peterson, he's done it offensively, he's done it defensively, and he will lead it off for the Dodgers today. Good matchup, by the way. Carlos Frias for the Dodgers against Matt Cain, coming off of some surgery last year. We'll be back with lineups. Starting pitch right after this. In downtown Scottsdale, Arizona, it's the Dodgers against the world champion San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody. Rick Monday alongside Kevin Kennedy. The weatherman has dialed in another absolutely gorgeous afternoon. Yesterday, the temperatures were about 96 degrees, and today, well, it's going to be another hot one here in the Valley of the Sun. The Dodgers victorious yesterday over the Angels in Tempe, and technically they moved their record to 14 wins, 7 losses, and 6 ties. But it all kicks off for real, for keeps and in ink 1 week from tomorrow, as the Dodgers will have opening day of Major League Baseball. Tim Wallach, who will be at the helm of the Dodgers in this split squad day here in Scottsdale with the lineup cards at home plate. Don Mattingly has another group at Camelback Ranch Glendale against the Texas Rangers. We'll give you those updates as we go through the afternoon. But one thing about it, Kevin, this is a ball club, being the Dodgers, that maybe are on the upper rung of the ladder the way they have performed so far this spring. You and I had a chance to talk with Bruce Bochy, the manager of the San Francisco Giants, and in Bruce's own words, his club has not performed to the manner that he has been satisfied with, and he considers them at the bottom rung right now.
Yeah, he still contends that they're not ready. He's not pleased the way they're performing. Now today he's got mainly his A lineup out there with the exception of at third base, which we'll talk about in a minute. But he surprised me, Rick, the first words out of his mouth, you know, how do you like my club? You know, like you guys, it's all push button club, kind of teasing, but he was serious. When a manager like Bruce Bochy says that about his own club, He definitely is concerned that they're not ready for opening day.
Matt Cain pitching for the Giants. The Giants taking the field here at Scottsdale Stadium is going to be Carlos Frias, a young right-hander, 25-year-old right-hander on the mound for the Dodgers. Here's the way the Dodgers will field their team today. Jock Peterson, who continues to be really a topic of conversation around Major League Baseball, will be in the leadoff spot playing in center field. Justin Turner's hitting a less than modest .475 average at first base. Yasiel Puig with 5 home runs already is in right field. Yasmani Grandal trying to get up to the Mendoza line as far as the batting average is considered. He's hitting just a .191 so far, doing the catching. Andre Ethier, who is catching a lot of attention in left field. Alex Guerrero, who has continued to hit. He's at .368 average, is at third base. Kike Hernandez as at shortstop. Playing at second base, Darwin Barney. And Carlos Frias here in the National League ballpark will be batting in the 9th position. For Matt Cain, 2-7, the record a season ago, but discount that for the 30-year-old right-hander. He made 15 starts. Yes, the ERA was also over 4.1. But in July, surgery to remove bone chips from his elbow. In fact, he spent 3 different trips to the disabled list last year. And they're reporting he is healthy and raring to go this season. So for Matt Cain, who is also the author of the 22nd perfect game in baseball history in June of 2012 against the Houston Astros, he's getting his warm-up tosses, and Buster Posey throws it down to second base. We're just about ready to go. The umpiring crew, Chris Guccione, will call his balls and strikes. He's working the plate. And in the infield, it's going to be Jim Wolf, Rob Drake, and Joe Bourne will be the umpires working the bases. Happy to have you with us. The Dodgers against the Giants, whether it's spring training or not. Something a little bit more electric in the air, and it is a sellout crowd here at Scottsdale Stadium. Jock Peterson stepping in, a .373 average, 5 home runs, 11 runs batted in. Cain into the windup, the first pitch, a ground ball. Nice stop at first by Brandon Belt. And for Belt, he's not able to toss the ball over to Posey, so it goes as an infield single. Nice stop by Brandon Belt. But for Jock Peterson, aboard the bases again.
To the glove side of Brandon Belt, it was indeed a nice stop. A very quality first baseman. Some believe he's going to win multiple Gold Gloves in his career. Jock not wasting any time on that little cutter down and in. And because he hustled out of the box, didn't give up, he beats it out easily.
87 degrees at first pitch game time here in Scottsdale. And they're expecting to be up in the mid-90s before the afternoon comes to a close. Justin Kerner coming on, hitting at .475. Right-handed batter. Cain set, and he delivers. It's inside ball 1. Turner coupled with a good average. 3 home runs and 8 runs batted in. Defensively for the Giants, besides Belt at first base, who's holding Peterson close to the bag. Joe Panik is at second base. Brandon Crawford at short. Matt Duffy playing at third. The 1-0. There goes Peterson. Pitch is taken high by Turner. The throw down to second is in time, as Buster Posey erases the stolen base attempt of Jock Peterson.
Very quick release for Buster Posey, and each year he keeps getting better defensively at doing that with the exchange. Jock Peterson kept his feet moving and actually had a decent jump. That was just an excellent job by Posey of getting rid of this fastball. Squared up nicely, threw a strike to his second baseman Panik, and Peterson slides right into the tag.
So very quickly, a base hit, a man caught stealing, and with 1 out, Turner waits. The pitch by Posey is a drive into right center field, and that might split the alleys. Turner's headed for second base, and he is going to make it with a stand-up double. Center fielder Angel Pagan came over and picked that ball up. So Turner continues to just really pound the baseball all over the place. He's hit safely now at 14 of the last 15 games that he's played in.
Yeah, he's got that big leg kick, Rick, but he stays back. When he lifts the front leg, it generates a lot of hip and bat speed for him. But what I like about him is he stays on the back leg. He doesn't drift, and that's why he's able to stay back. And when the ball's middle away, he's able to go away with it like he did just there.
So Red, as his teammates call him, leads off at second base with 1 down. Here's Yasiel Puig, .275 in the spring with 5 home runs. He's knocked in 12. Rest of the Giants defense, by the way, Travis Ishikawa is in left field, which swings and misses, much to the light of the crowd. 0-1 to count. Angel Pagan, as we mentioned, is in center. Nori Aoki is in right. Posey doing the catching. And one of the few times, actually, Puig had backed out of the batter's box, and I think he's looking for the pine tar rag to add a little bit more grip to the bat. Now he's going to get a new bat. So much for the pace of game rules so far here in the first inning.
Yeah, he's getting his hitting bat, I guess. His 0-1 bat.
And the count is 0-1. Turner is at second base, just underway from Scottsdale. Dodgers and Giants. Puig waits. Here's the pitch, and it's fouled back to the screen. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. Yasmani Grandal really trying to get on track offensively, waiting on deck.
Matt Cain, you mentioned, Rick, the elbow surgery he had for bone spurs mainly in July. He also had an operation at the end of September. He had the same problem with his ankle, his right ankle, the drive leg. Bone chips in and bone spurs in the ankle as well. So he had a big cleanup in 2014.
So Cain, a 3-time All-Star, the 30-year-old right-hander, set at the belt. Now delivers the 0-2 to Puig. Breaking ball fouled off to the roof off to the right. For Matt Cain, remembering when he first came up, and Bruce Bochy was making the comment, he has the word stuff. Now that encompasses a whole lot of things. For baseball people in their parlance, stuff means, hey, he's got very good ability. And Bruce Bochy says anytime that Cain takes the mound, keep your eyes open. You might see something special. That's what they saw in June of 2012. The 22nd perfect game in baseball history against the Astros by Matt Cain. Breaking ball misses away. 1-2 now to Yasiel Puig.
And Matt Cain did pitch in a minor league game last Thursday and gave up a run in 3 1/3 innings for the Giants. Averaging about 90 miles an hour this spring. Normally he's at about 92.
Well, it is strange, and those who are watching on the simulcast, there's a drive into right center field. That's hit a long way. Going back is Aoki, and this ball is going to one hop over the wall for a grounds rule double. And Puig will stop at second, and Justin Turner will score. The Dodgers out in front of the defending world champions 1-0. 3 consecutive batters, 3 consecutive hits. One of them was thrown out trying to steal. But since that time, back-to-back doubles by Turner and Puig. The Dodgers are on the board.
That was a good at-bat by Puig because he got a 91 fastball right there at the knees and away. It indeed would have been a 3rd strike had he not swung at it. And actually, Cain missed location. You saw a moment ago, Posey setting up inside with that late-inning movement. Late pitch movement.
Yasmani Grandal, first ball swinging, fly ball to left field. Waiting for it is Ishikawa. He'll make the catch. And for Grandal, his problems continue. Grandal, as we mentioned, came in hitting at just a $191. So trying to get up above the Mendoza line. He has a home run and 4 RBIs. But for Grandal, 2 walks versus 11 strikeouts. So they're 2 down here in the first. 1-0 Dodgers. Andre Ethier batting in the number 5 position and playing in left field today and having a good spring at 304. Struggled last year as far as the average, 249. Dodgers, by the way, were 10-9 against the Giants last year during the regular season. Ethier did not agree with Chris Guccione's interpretation of the strike zone, but it's taken for a strike up and in. 0-1. To give you an idea of how warm it is here in the Valley of the Sun, they have a mist sprinkler system on the outside edge of the overhang from first base line to the third base line and behind home plate. Well, that fine mist is operating at full strength here this afternoon at the present time. Ethier takes a strike quickly. 0-2. Oh, it's a dry heat unless you're under one of the misters. 0-2. There's a fastball outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, I can remember Rick managing in AAA in the PCL back in the 90s, and you come play the Giants, and they turn those that mist on that you're talking about. But of course, when you're out there playing at game time in the middle of the summer, it would be sometimes 115 degrees, and it didn't do a whole lot for anybody really, even the mist.
1-2 pitch breaking ball that's fouled off to the left side. Scottsdale Stadium, it has been host to a lot of different teams over the years. The Boston Red Sox train in this ballpark at one particular time. The Chicago Cubs have been here. The Cubs moved here after they had been in Catalina Island and also in Long Beach. The Giants originally, start to think back, when they moved to the West Coast, they were in Casa Grande, south of Phoenix. Then they moved to Phoenix itself. There's a pickoff attempt at second base, and Puig is just in under the tag as Crawford, the shortstop, came over to try and catch the pickoff.
And Puig had a pretty big lead at second base and really didn't feel or hear Crawford coming behind him. And that was closer than it should have been there, especially with 2 outs. Puig most likely not stealing with a left-handed hitter up there.
Razor Shines is serving as the third base coach for the Dodgers, as Lorenzo Bundy and Davey Lopes, normally the base coaches, are with Don Mattingly in the split squad group over at Camelback Ranch, Glendale. The pitch as Puig is taking off to third base. It's fouled off, and the count still holds 1-2. 1 run, 3 hits. Here in the top of the first, Peterson had an infield single. Diving stop by Belt at first base. And Jock was thrown out trying to steal second by Posey. A double by Turner, an RBI double by Puig. Grandal flied out to left, and now Ethier trying to pick up Puig at second base. Posey set at the belt. And the pitch to the Dodger left fielder, swung on and missed, went after the bad ball, low and away. Kane gives up 3 hits, 2 of them doubles. The Dodgers settle for 1 run. And for Andre Ethier, not particularly pleased with Chris Guccione, the home plate umpire, and they are involved in discussions as we speak. We go to the bottom of the first. Giants coming on to face young right-hander Carlos Frias. 1-0 Dodgers. Dodgers put a run on the board in the top of the first against Matt Cain, and for the Giants, Nori Aoki, who's going to lead things off for Bruce Bochy, has Joe Panik in the number 2 position, Pagan, then Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, Ishikawa, Brandon Crawford, Matt Duffy, and then Cain in the number 9 position. Aoki, left-handed batter, hitting at .218, and young Mr. Carlos Frias, 25 years of age, delivers, and that's down low, ball 1. For Frias, his 4th game, his first start that he's made so far this spring in the big games, the A games, as you will list them. Has a good arm and a very good approach, and we found that out last year with a disastrous outing against the Rockies in Denver, where he gave up 10 consecutive base hits, 7 runs, did not get out of the first inning. There's a drive into right field and a diving catch made by Yasiel Puig, who read the ball perfectly and makes a big catch. Out number 1 in the bottom of the first.
Well, Yasiel Puig showing off one of those 5 tools that he has out there. Of course, he led the National League in assists from the outfield last year. Did get a good jump on a rocket hit by Aoki with some topspin. The ball was sinking, so Yasiel picks it off with a dive. Two-handed dive.
And not the easiest of plays. The line drive hit right at you, picking it up out of the shirt sleeve crowd to begin with. 1 out. Here's Joe Panik, left-handed hitter, starting at second base today. Interesting that Bruce Bochy talking last week about Joe Panik. He says, look, don't live up to your name. Do not be in a panic mode to make this ball club. because Joe Panik is hitting just a .154. He drives one to left center field. Peterson on the run, won't be able to catch it. Panik digging for second base, and he will make it with a stand-up double. So he's not in the panic mood, and he's not pressing the panic button. He has a one-out double.
Well, Frias has the big arm, but he throws 84% of the time a pitch that's hard, a fastball mostly. And that was a fastball up and out over the plate. Panik went with it. Jock Peterson was playing him shaded slightly toward left center, but that ball, a left-handed hitter off the pitch from Frias, was going to tail away from the center fielder, and so Peterson had no chance as it split the gap in left center.
So Panik standing at second base, checking out where the Dodgers defense is going to be positioning. Angel Pagan is the batter, the switch hitter, bat left-handed. Pagan has struggled. Well, hit 300 last year. He's hit 130 this spring. Holds the bat high. Here's the pitch by Frias, and a strike on the inside corner. Defensively, we'll set the Dodgers for you. The infield of Justin Turner is at first base. Darwin Barney starting at second. Kike Hernandez at short. Alex Guerrero's over third. Outfield from left to right. Ethier, Peterson, and Puig. Grandal doing the catching. Breaking ball, right side. Diving attempt by Turner. Can't come up with it. And holding at third is Panik as Puig guns the ball back in and hits the cutoff man.
Puig is doing things this spring that we really hadn't seen him do in previous spring trainings, and that's catch the ball with two hands, as you saw a moment ago on that line out, and hit the cutoff man right away. As third base coach for the Giants holds up Panik, right away he was being held up. They were not going to challenge Puig.
A new third base coach for the Giants, Roberto Kelly, who moved from first to third when Tim Flannery, a longtime coach and former teammate of Bruce Bochy with San Diego, decided to retire, spend some time at home. Bill Hayes is now the first base coach for the Giants. First and third, one out. Here's Buster Posey. .250 average in the spring. Takes a strike 0-1. But with Posey, you're not really worrying about the numbers in the spring. You know what the numbers will be during the season. .311 last year with 22 home runs and 89 runs batted in. Posey is also expected to play a little bit more at first base this year to give the legs a break and the bruises a chance to dissipate. They won't disappear, but they might dissipate.
Well, as he gets older too, that's he's going to be playing more and more first base, and eventually with the way Brandon Belt can swing the bat, you got to find a position for him, because he's an excellent first baseman.
And Belt has seen some time in the outfield. Frias delivers, and that's outside. Back the on-deck hitter here at Scottsdale Stadium. You do not have a whole lot of free range. Belt is in the on-deck circle. It's not really designated with a circle, but I tell you what, a foul ball, you are easy pickings here.
You got to watch out for the check swings too. That's when they can really shoot off to the right side with the right-hand hitter up.
Runners lead off. Here's the 2-1, swung on and missed, and a ball, good fastball away.
You know, Rick, we're talking about Frias, and he needs to use his secondary pitches more. He's come out of the chute here throwing all fastballs. 58% of the time last year he threw a four-seam or two-seam fastball at 95 miles an hour. A cutter 26% of the time at 90. So everything is hard with him, and the league knows it, and that's why he got jumped on by Colorado last year.
2-2 on the way, and a ball that's hit into shallow right center field. That's going to drop in for the base hit. The run will score from third, and over to third goes Pagan. Not hit hard, but perfect placement, and we have a tie game.
And that's why he's getting jumped on by the Giants here in the first inning. He's got a good arm, but he doesn't have great command yet in his young career. And big league hitters are going to hit 94, 95. This is just right down the middle. Tried to get in more on Buster than he did. And Posey definitely looking fastball, drops it in front of Peterson for the RBI base hit.
Well, most young pitchers have been, most of them, blessed with great arms. And in the earlier stages of their careers, they can throw it past a lot of hitters. The higher you move up the ladder, the more you see the guys you could not get out with just the fastball. And they're all here.
That's right. I mean, that last pitch was 96 miles an hour. That's a great velocity, but you got to have command, and I really believe he needs to break in the slider that when he threw it last year, he showed some depth with that slider and the changeup.
Brandon Belt's the batter, hitting at .327 with 3 home runs this spring. Left-handed hitter, takes down low. 2 balls and no strikes. You're a former catcher and you manage. Let me ask you this. I, quite frankly, as an outfielder, and now we're going to have Chuck Krim is going to make a trip to the mound. And I was about to say, are you surprised, or ask the question, are you surprised? Here's the 5th hitter. Everybody's hit the ball hard, but Posey, you have a guy that's thrown fastball, and yet Grandal never went to the mound.
Well, I was just going to go there. I'm glad you brought it up because it's the responsibility of Grandal, who now has, a few years in the big leagues. Even though he's 26 years of age, he's got to go out there and take control of this and call his secondary stuff. It's like, what's the difference? This is the time to work on it. I know Frias wants to have a good showing, but Don Mattingly, and especially today, Tim Wallach being the manager here, they know what Frias has. They know he's got a good fastball, but they want to see the secondary stuff. You want to see command. And how do you get out of a double play situation right here? It's not by throwing cookies down the middle.
No. Nope. And for Frias, he's about to make his 15th pitch. Still 1st and 3rd, 1 out. 1-1 tie. Belt waits, and he takes just outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Some people might say, what difference does it make if you go to the mound and you talk to a pitcher or not? But there is a thing called breaking up momentum, taking momentum away, and giving a guy a breather. Here's the 2-0 ground ball. Base hit to the right side. Second run will score. Posey advances to second, and Brandon Belt knocks in his 9th of the spring. It's 2-1 Giants.
Well, on the 3-0 count, Brandon Belt certainly knows he's going to get a fastball, and Bruce Bochy said, hey, go ahead. Got a pitch you like, drive the run in, and he not only drove the run in, he got himself a base hit, and the wheel keeps turning here. We saw this last year in the game we worked in Colorado, where that first inning, when he only went 2/3, Rick, I don't remember one breaking ball in that inning.
And also, there was nobody that went to the mound for a long time to try and break things up. So, Frias came with a uniform. I don't know if he brought any breaking stuff with him or a changeup. We've seen nothing but gas. There was one breaking ball not thrown very well. And while the catcher does put down the signs, the pitcher does have the option to shake his head no. And there is a breaking ball that missed low and inside. Ball 1.
It's the first one.
To Travis Ishikawa, left-handed batter, hitting right at the Mendoza line at 200. And not trying to place the blame on Yasmani Grandal or anybody else, but you've got a young pitcher out there that's kind of being taken pillar to post. Hasn't really shown that he's got his feet on the ground, and yet he must feel like he's the loneliest guy out there. Ishikawa waits, and a ball is hit off the knuckles, foul down the left field line.
Well, Rick, it shouldn't take until the 6th batter to try a secondary pitch. And a lot of times when you try the breaking ball, you do that to get in breaking ball mode and help him get over the pitch, and maybe he'll have a better finish on his fastball, and he won't leave it out over the plate. That's the other theory behind mixing it up a little bit.
Ishikawa waits. Posey at second. Belts over at first. Frias delivers a swing and a miss. Bad breaking ball off the plate inside.
I hear so many guys today, Rick, talk about, well, you want fastball command in the first inning. Well, yeah, you do. But if you don't have the command going, it doesn't mean you want to be taken out of the game in the first inning by just throwing all fastballs.
Fastball command, but you don't want the opposing hitters to say fastball by demand.
Yeah.
Here's the 1-2, and there's a pitch with a wrinkle on it. It's a swing and a miss.
It's a good little slider there. Followed that before that. Previous pitch was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
So followed up the fastball with that little wrinkle inside, a strikeout, 2 down. Brandon Crawford comes on to bat.
He's got a variation of a cutter and a slider, and sometimes it's hard to tell which, but that one had a good late break nonetheless. At 93 miles an hour, that was probably his cutter, but it did have a little bit of late movement, which is what he needs.
Crawford out of UCLA, left-handed batter. He is a tremendous glove man at shortstop and trying to improve and continue to improve with the bat at home plate. Last year, really fell in the same area he had been. In both 2012 and 2013, he hit exactly .248. Each of those 2 years. Last year, not quite .248 by 2 points. Hit .246. But they will trade somewhere around the .250 mark all day long with the defense that Crawford provides.
You know, a lot of analysts like Albertson Simmons defensively in the National League, or maybe even in baseball. They think he's the best defensive shortstop.
2-0 pitch, ground ball to Hopper to second base. Barney has it, throws to first, and that's going to do it. Could have been a lot more disastrous for Carlos Frias. He gave up 4 hits. One of the outs was a line drive, a diving catch by Puig, and 2 runners are left on base. We go to the second inning. It's 2-1 Giants. Two to 1 Giants. This is the third and final meeting of the spring between these two ball clubs. They will not see one another again until the 21st of April. That'll be in San Francisco. The first of 19 regular season games. Alex Guerrero, first ball swinging. He lines it foul down the left field line. Guerrero, as we mentioned earlier in the pregame show, has had a big spring. 368 average, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. But I think, Kevin, you and I were talking this morning driving over to Scottsdale. The thing that's been somewhat impressive about Guerrero, the way that he has hit the ball all over the field.
Yeah, he's using the field very well, and he's not missing many fastballs. If he likes it on the first pitch and it's down the middle, he's just jumping all over it, and he just missed a double on that one. Just took it a little bit.
Guerrero comes on, right-handed hitter. Kike Hernandez and then Darwin Barney to follow. Kane into the windup, big right-hander delivers, and that's fouled off just past Razor Shines, coaching down at third base today. John Shoemaker, long time with the Dodgers.
Yeah,
he's had such a big hand in helping to develop the younger talent over the years. He's been in charge of field coordinator at the minor league level and during spring training. So Shoe is down at first and Shines is over third.
He and I go way back, Rick, as well as you do, back to our days when we were young managers coming up. He was the third base coach back at Vero Beach back in the 80s for Stan Wozniak, who longtime Dodger minor league manager, had over 5,000 wins, the winningest manager in minor league history. And then finally Shoe became a manager and instructor, as you said.
0-2 to Guerrero. Breaking ball in the dirt outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
In fact, just touching up on Shoe, I talked to him the last time I was in town, and I said, where are you going to be this year? He goes, I'm in Ogden. I'm going to be managing rookie ball. And he said, quite frankly, that's where I need to be, Kevin. He said, I like the young guys, and I want to get them indoctrinated into pro ball.
1-2 pitch. Fastball missed outside. You begin to look around. Razor Shines has been the manager in Double-A. Does a great job with the young players as well. Very humble on top of it. And for John Shoemaker, he's one of those very fundamentally oriented teachers over the years. Perfect guy to have at the younger level. 2-2 pitch. And it popped up to shallow center field. Angel Pagan coming on and makes a catch.
A lot of hang
Sunday
time.
Afternoon type of a catch.
Yeah, it sure was. I don't know if he got a good jump or not. I didn't see him get the best of jumps, but I thought the ball was going to carry a little bit more, and it almost dropped in there. Just kind of breaking ball, a little slider right there.
Well, this is a big ballpark. Historically, it has caught the attention of a lot of players that have come in here and say, well, is this a Grand Canyon South? It's 360 feet down both the left field and right field line. Straightaway center, 430 feet. The power alleys, $2 cab fare.
Yeah, that's just like a ballpark from back in the 60s, isn't it, Rick? I think of Forbes Field in Pittsburgh.
And this ballpark was built well before then.
Yeah.
Kiki Hernandez hitting at 250. But 4 home runs. Swing and a miss there, and the count now quickly 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Matt Cain is certainly using all his secondary pitches, his curveball, his slider. His changeup is what he struck Andre Ethier out with to end the first inning.
Cain into the windup. Posey setting outside corner. The pitch is away. Little ground ball. 2-hopper to third. Matt Duffy has it. Fires across. 2 down. Kodai goes 5-3. We were talking in the pregame show about the fact that I counted today, and the Dodgers came in with a veritable plethora of players. You're going to get a look at a lot of them as Darwin Barney comes on, hitting at 278 this spring. But by my count, we have seen, at least with 1 game of action in the A games, 55 different players, position players, not pitchers.
That's amazing. I've never seen so many, and you came up with the number this morning because we touched on it yesterday that more young guys are getting an opportunity to be seen by the big league staff than ever. And I can ever remember. And I know Tommy Lasorda was always good back at Dodgertown days about bringing a young guy over that wasn't on the roster and wasn't even a major league invite. And he'd say, hey, Kevin, send one of those kids over to be a pinch runner today. And, just to get them acclimated or just to be around the big leaguers, which was great.
Barney up there, and it's a ground ball. It's off the shoe of Cain. Ricochets over to the second baseman. Panic. Who does not panic? Picks it up and throws him out. Darwin Barney, by the way, his uniform tore. He was wearing earlier today a much higher number, but they sent over another one, and we can see it has arrived in Scottsdale. 2-1 Giants, bottom of the second coming up. Two to 1 Giants, and for Carlos Frias, did not really help himself out by pitch selection in that first inning. He was hit hard. He was touched up for 2 runs on 4 hits, and now he'll start it off against Matt Duffy, right-handed hitting third baseman who takes downstairs 1-0. Duffy has had a good spring, hitting at 349 and starting at third base. Last season in Double-A ball hit 332, so he is a coming player with the San Francisco Giants. Shows a discerning eye, takes outside ball 2.
Well, for Frias, he had a 23-pitch first inning, 13 for strikes. 21 of them were fastballs, 4-seam fastball.
Duffy takes outside, ball 3. Man, Duffy's a dirtbag. And for those in Southern California, you understand what we're talking about. Some may say, oh, did you hear him insult?
Yeah.
No, dirtbag. Out of Long Beach State.
Good program.
And didn't have to go far.
A lot of guys coming out of there.
He was born in Long Beach. 3-0 pitch, and he takes that one high, ball 4. So Duffy goes down to first base. Well, they have a chance. Want to remind you, no team has more Cy Young Award winners than the Dodgers. And this season, well, Dodgers are celebrating with a Cy Young pen collection series presented by 76. Now pick up a pen #1 featuring Don Newcomb on Monday, April 13th. If you'd like more information, go online, Dodgers.com/promotions. Duffy's over first, being held by Justin Turner. Matt Cain is the batter and shows bunt, takes outside on the corner for strike 0-1.
You know, speaking of dirtbags, I was thinking of guys like Evan Longoria comes to mind, Troy Tulowitzki, Jared Weaver. Pretty good guys coming out of Long Beach State.
Throw over to first, but Turner is well off the bag, in front of the bag. But Duffy went diving back in. 2-1 Giants. Dodgers scored a run in the very first inning. A leadoff single by Jock Peterson. Thrown out trying to steal second. Kane bunts the ball in the air, but it will bounce on top of the Giants' first base dugout. After Peterson was caught stealing, Justin Turner then promptly doubled to right field. Right center to be exact. Yasiel Puig on a 1-2 pitch away from him. Hit a double to right center. Ground rule double for a RBI. But then Grandal and Ethier made outs to retire the Dodgers, and 2 runs in the bottom of the first by the Giants. RBI singles by Posey and Belt. Kane showing bunt again to no avail. And Cole strike 3, and a wasted afternoon at home plate by Matt Cain.
Well, Frias just powering fastballs in that sequence, and Kane couldn't even get the bat out in front, kicked it back a little bit too far, and it basically went right by him. 96, 97 miles an hour for Frias.
1 out. Runner at first, Nori Aoki, who had a base hit bid taken away on a terrific headfirst diving catch by Yasiel Puig in right field. Left-handed hitter holds his hands. Really, they're over the top of the inside part of the plate. And for Frias, backs him off the plate with a strike. That's a pretty good scenario. You have a hitter that holds his hands over the plate. You throw inside, you get the called strike, and he's jumping away from it.
Yeah.
That
right.
tells you something right there as a pitcher.
And let's see what Grandal calls here. Going right back in.
And the Grandal is sitting inside. We'll see where the pitch is, and it's away, and he slaps it the opposite way. So you don't help yourself. And part of pitching is also to be an observer.
Well, the sequence there was okay, trying to go in, but mislocation badly, middle away, and it's an easy base hit. See the ball's up, letter high for Aoki, and that's exactly what he's looking for, just to slap it to left field in front of Andre Ethier for the base hit.
First and second runners with 1 out for Joe Panik, who doubled. A big ballpark where cutoffs and relays are really the story of any game. And it's also a ballpark that the cutoff men have to position themselves a little bit more deeply as they get the ball in from the outfield.
Yeah, you're talking about 430 feet to dead center, as you said, Rick, and 360 down the line. You've got to make sure as a shortstop and the second baseman that you are out there deep enough if the ball's hit in the gap.
Panik waiting. Here's the 1-0. Runners lead off at first and second. The pitch is inside at 2 balls and no strikes.
Kike Hernandez now going to a little conversation with Carlos Frias, see if you can get him settled down a little bit.
And again, I'm a little surprised that it's the shortstop that comes in.
Right.
Yes, I understand that there is no language barrier between those two, but normally guy in charge is the guy behind home plate, and that being the catcher. There's ball 3 balls and no strikes.
Well, the thing about Grandal now, I mean, it's getting late in the spring here. We only have a few more days here in Arizona, and then the club breaks after the game on the 1st of April, and then the season's around the corner, April the 6th.
A week from tomorrow, the 3-0 pitch taken all the way. 3 balls and a strike Frias would love to get the ground ball, maybe the double play, and get out of the inning. Angel Pagan waiting on deck. Joe Panik out of St. John's University. #1 pick by the Giants. Takes inside, and that will load the bases, and Frias is all over the place, and Grandal will finally go to the mound and hand deliver this ball.
Yeah, that was a 3-1 cutter right there, 91 miles an hour. So a little bit of a different wrinkle there than the four-seam fastball, but he missed badly in, and now the bases are loaded, and Angel Pagan coming up.
Pagan, mentioned earlier, is hitting $130. Of course, that's kind of the story so far for the defending world champion Giants. Are they in a panic mode? No. But the numbers are the numbers. They are 14th in the National League in batting average this spring. Collectively a .242. ERA, they're last in the National League to this particular point. What does it mean? Only that they're 14th and last in spring training in those two categories.
And come April 6th, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
But you and I talked with Bruce Bochy, and he was up in the press box this morning in full uniform. Took us a little bit by surprise. And he was honest. Hey, I'm not happy. Ground ball down to second. Could be two, should be two, and it's not going to be two. The ball was bobbled by Hernandez on a perfect feed underhand by Darwin Barney. So to get the fielder choice 4-6, but it cost a run, is now 3-1 Giants. And that's one of those areas, too, that you cannot officially give an error and anticipate a double play. But, my gosh, you anticipate one there.
Yeah, that was a routine, what should have been a double play, 92 miles an hour right at Barney. And because of the speed hitting from the left side in this at-bat for Pagan, getting the extra stride, Kike Hernandez rushed himself on the transfer, and it flipped out of his hand.
So as an RBI by Pagan, it's now 3-1 Giants. Buster Posey is the hitter with runners at first and third.
But I do think it's interesting, Rick, talking to Bruce this morning.
Pitch to Posey, runner is going. The throw down to second is in time. Pagan looked like he may have slowed up a bit with the slide.
Yep.
And I think most of the fans here today would say we wish there was replay in spring training. Well, there's not any replay in the spring, and the Giants will settle for a run. And they got there on one hit, but 2 free passes. And good thing for the Dodgers, there is no replay on that call. We go to the third inning, 3-1 San Francisco. For Matt Cain, who underwent surgery to remove bone chips from his elbow last July, and then in September arthroscopic surgery on his right ankle to remove bone spurs. is fine. He's healthy, and that makes the San Francisco Giants smile a little bit wider. Carlos Frias starting it off, fouls off the first pitch, 0-1. Frias, right-handed batter. Jock Peterson waiting on deck. Kane into the windup, and a big breaking ball, and Frias is departing the home plate area. Strike two.
Yeah, he wanted no part of that curveball.
Kane comes right back, works quickly. Fastball hit late and foul down the left field line. By the way, with that runner being caught stealing, and thanks to the attempt to make a pop-up slide for no apparent reason, it slowed the slide down. But another caught stealing, another $100 donation to the Dodgers Foundation from Bay Alarm, your local security experts. Swing and a miss for Frias, and he could go sit down. With Bay Alarm, you're protected 24/7, and you can manage your system. For a free security review, call 1-800-610-1000 or go to bayalarm.com. Bay Alarm, what have you got to lose? One out for Kane, his second strikeout. 3-1 Giants win the top of the third. Split squad action for the Dodgers today. Don Mattingly and some of his coaches remained at Camelback Ranch, Glendale. They are currently playing against the Texas Rangers. Peterson slams one down the right field line. Did he get it? It is up and it is gone. Jock Peterson with his 6th home run of the season. He continues to impress, and he continues to have scouts talking day and night. And for Peterson, he moves the Dodgers within a run. It's 3-2 Giants.
Well, he's seen 2 pitches in this game. He's got 2 hits. This time 87-mile-an-hour off-speed pitch, trying to go down and away. I believe that was the changeup. First pitch from Matt Cain, and you can see why, because Jock will jump on the first pitch fastball, change up a little bit hard, and more than that, the location missed by about 12 inches.
Peterson with his 6th home run of the spring. Justin Turner takes a breaking ball inside, ball 1.
Matt Cain's changeup averaged 86 miles an hour last year. That pitch was 87. You can see on the replay.
Turner the 1-0.
Location was missed badly.
Breaking ball missed. 2 balls and no strikes. A low line drive about 30 feet from the foul line down the right field line by Jock Peterson. Talked about a big ballpark. 360 down the lines. If you hit a home run here, there's nothing on a discounted shelf you're going to find here if you hit it out.
That also tells you that Jock, even on the changeup and first pitch looking fastball, he's able to stay back on the back leg. That leg kick, he didn't drift.
That was a great shot for those who are watching on Sportsnet LA on the simulcast. To see Jock Peterson, he still had his helmet on. He's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Or being asked about it, one of the two. But normally you hit it, you take off the helmet, you go to the next stage of work. But not to this particular point. There's a breaking ball. Aha. We'll get another look, and he has finally removed the helmet. 3-2, but he just went down and got that off-speed pitch.
Good balance right there on the replay. Good fluid swing, and goes down and gets through it.
Turner waiting, and for Matt Cain, here's the payout pitch. The 3-2 breaking ball, and it's slammed down to right, or back the right field line, but backhanded by Brandon Belt at first. So a hang with him line drive out to first base. Second out of the inning. Here's Yasiel Puig coming on. By the way, that home run by Peterson, the trip around the diamond, is sponsored by Daniels Jewelers. And for every Dodger home run, the Daniels Jewelers family donates to local children's charities. Over $500,000 over the last 4 seasons. Daniels Jewelers, making diamond dreams come true since 1948. Puig waiting. Posey sits outside corner. The pitch by Cain way outside, ball 1. Puig, if you're joining us late, a 1-2 pitch away from him in the first inning. With Turner the runner at second, an RBI double. One hopped over the right center field wall. His 13th run batted in this spring. 1-0. Taken high, 2 balls and no strikes.
Rick, you're the perfect guy to ask for this. #1 player in the draft in 1965 for the initial year of the draft. You came to the big leagues pretty quickly yourself. That first spring, when you really knew you were going to make it, did it translate what you did in the spring to the regular season? The confidence or the swing?
I think the confidence is there in the spring, but in the back of your mind, I think if you're being honest, and if you talk to the younger players now, I think there's a And not saying that they're different now versus in the past.
Right.
I think in the back of your mind, you don't dare allow any question marks to arrive. But it's an interesting concept. I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
Just fouled off the last one. Because it's a learning process. And the journey has not come to a completion.
Right.
It's just unfolding. And for Jock Peterson, he is going to have ups. He's going to have downs. People are going to compare notes. And if he has a hole in the swing, he's going to see a lot of pitches there. But you're always trying to avoid negativity. You're going to hear it regardless of how well you're doing.
Right. And he's making it look so easy, and that's why I asked, because now we're at the point of the spring. Like I said, there's a few days left. The club breaks April 1st. 3 more games with the Angels, and boom, it's for keeps.
Puig ground ball left side through the hole. A diving attempt to the backhanded side by Crawford, the shortstop, to no avail. Puig, his second hit today.
And I think for those that said, well, last September there's questions because he didn't have a good at bats, in particular in those 28 at bats he had. Well, now he comes into spring training. Matt Kemp gets traded, and he's tearing it up. And can it be this easy? And we all know, no, it's not that easy. But hey, better to do well and have confidence coming into your first opening day is probably a starter than not. That's for sure.
Yasmani Grandal is the batter. Switch hitter. He's from the left side. 2 outs, 1 across on the home run by Peterson. There are a couple of things that you look at with young players, and with Peterson, has a narrow batting stance. He has the high leg kick. He has a tendency. Here's a pickoff attempt over at first by Puig, but he's back safely. There is a tendency of Jock Peterson to jump at the ball and overstride.
Right.
Carry the bat with him, which translates to a longer swing.
Right. Always look at that.
So I have 2 questions. One is, and Puig on a replay should have been called out. His feet came off the plate, and now they make the pickoff behind the pitch to Grandal, and he's safe again.
They're trying.
But the other thing, and Buster Posey can throw anybody out.
Oh, yeah.
And he throws behind the left-hand hitter, which is an art in itself. But the fastball up is a question I have of every young player that comes up. Can they handle it? And what about the off-speed? Ball slammed down the right field line, fair ball, and Puig's around second. He's headed to third, and he's going to be waved around by Razor Shines. The relay is not going to be made to home, and the Dodgers able to get a run, and we've got a 3-3 tie. An RBI double by Yasmani Grandal.
Well, he got one that he could turn on right here. Buster Posey trying for the high fastball. Kane carried a little bit, got it in instead of up, and Grandal turns on it.
The Dodgers 3 runs on 6 hits to this point. For the Giants, 3 runs on 5 hits. So that's the 3rd double. The Dodgers have had off Kane. They also have a home run, a single to go with it. Here's Andre Ethier, strikeout victim his first time today. Grandal is at second. That RBI by Yasmani, his 5th. So the off-speed pitch was a concern, along with the breaking ball, which I kind of consider the off-speed pitch too, talking about Peterson and adjustments. And for him to hit an off-speed pitch, yes, it was in the wheelhouse low and in, but for him to still have the timing with the narrow stance and elongated stride and the leg kick, I think is perfect news as far as his progression.
Me too. Yeah, because he stayed back on the back leg, he didn't drift. And a lot of leg kick guys will drift off the back leg, and once you do that, you're going to get fooled a lot. You're going to roll over a lot of pitches rather than getting through the ball.
Ethier takes a strike outside on the corner, 2-1. Alex Guerrero waiting on deck.
And also guys like Kane, who is going to be in obviously the Giants rotation. It looks like he's healthy. He's throwing the ball okay. He's using a lot of his secondary stuff. He's working on everything, but he's finding things out about Peterson too.
2 1s outside, 3 balls and 1 strike. Oh, believe me,
they're
lock
going
that in, on fishing
right?
expeditions.
You bet.
Major League scouts, they don't willingly give a lot of their own private trade secrets, if you will.
Yep.
A lot of their observations. But you know what they're thinking. Ball's inside. And there is ball 4 to Ethier. And Dave Righetti, the pitching coach of the Giants, will go out and talk to his right-hander, Matt Kane.
Well, it's really like when Puig came up from Double-A a couple of years ago. I mean, he was doing things, hitting 400 the first month, only Joe DiMaggio had done in the history of the game, and then the adjustment period came in.
Has a tendency to happen.
Yeah.
There's a timeout on the field of pitching conference on the mound. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification all along the Dodgers radio network. Dave Righetti headed back to the Giants first base dugout. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Now, this was a long-standing venue. We mentioned the Red Sox had been here, that the Cubs have trained here. Been different teams that have trained here. And for Guerrero, a big swing and a miss. He was going to hit that ball up to Carefree, which, if you know the geographic location of Scottsdale, you go right up Scottsdale Road.
That's the way.
Or Pima Road, and you get up to the town of Carefree.
And keep going.
And it's a drive. And he was going to try and hit it that way. Guerrero's 0 for 1, fly to center field. But the stadium, little ground ball hit right back to the mound. Very politely picked up by Matt Cain. He rockets one over to first base. We'll talk about the Giants.
Yeah.
If you're having spring training, I realize this ballpark was rebuilt. If your home dugout is third base in San Francisco, why would you want to be at the first base dugout in spring
I've always
training?
thought that too.
3-3 tie, bottom of the third coming on. Jock Peterson, with a 6th home run of the spring, continues to really be a big story. Now, yesterday, Don Mattingly, in talking with members of the media, was asked point blank, are you ready to name Jock Peterson as your opening day center fielder 1 week from tomorrow? And Don Mattingly said, not yet, because I don't have to announce it as of yet. But it will be a shock if it's not Jock Peterson. He has done everything offensively, defensively, and his progression as a young player has truly been remarkable. 3-3 tie, bottom half of the third inning. Buster Posey is the batter. Takes a big rip and fouls it off. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Healthy.
Very healthy.
Yep. Now, this guy's tough. I mean, both ways. Defensively, he can catch and throw. Calls a good game now. But offensively, I mean, he probably is the #1 all-around catcher in baseball now.
1-1 pitch, jammed him. Fastball in on the hands, picked up at third by Alex Guerrero. Throws across. And there is one down. Brandon Belt will be the batter. I want to remind you, and this is something you don't want to miss, in the celebration of the great Jackie Robinson, you can join the Dodgers on Wednesday, April 15th. When they meet the Mariners, that's a 7:10 start. Now, the first 40,000 fans in attendance will receive an adult Jackie Robinson replica jersey presented by Bank of America. You'd like to get tickets, very simple. Just go online, Dodgers.com/promotions. Brandon Belt had an RBI single his first time up today. Takes a curveball, and now we're beginning to see Carlos Frias. Maybe a couple of innings too late.
Yeah,
it's in the breaking ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's time. I mean, work on your secondary stuff. Let's see what you've got. You've got to have that if you're going to be a starter in the big leagues.
Fastball fouled off at home plate. Just look at this inning. Now, you're a former catcher, and you put down the fingers, and you're working, you're trying to analyze. You jam Buster Posey with a good tailing fastball in on his hands. And then the first pitch to Brandon Belt is a breaking ball.
Yeah, at 82 miles
an hour.
So
you kind of reorganize exactly how you're working.
Right. And, you know, obviously the Giants are just sitting fastball this whole game, and now they're starting to see some secondary pitches.
Infield to pull with Belt. First, Bochy has had Belt playing in left field occasionally this spring. And he hits one to left center field just over the leaping attempt by Kike Hernandez. And Belt is 2 for 2.
Well, Belt is one of the few Giants in the lineup that has had a really good spring. He's hitting 337 coming in, and that's why this guy is probably going to be a 25 to 30 home run guy this year if he stays healthy, and probably knock in 90 to 100. He can go the other way, and he can hang in there well on lefties too.
Yeah, they would like Belt to maybe make a little bit better contact, or at least go to that approach when he is behind in the count. He's already struck out 16 times this spring. One out single. Belt's over at first, held on by Turner. Travis Ishikawa takes a strike. 0-1.
It's interesting, Rick, on Brandon Belt, because his first spring training a few years ago, the quote came from Bruce Bochy directly that spring. He is the left-handed hitting Buster Posey. That's Bruce's quotes, and he's not quite there yet, but we've seen pretty good glimpses of it, especially last year with the start he was off to.
Frias delivers. That's inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Before he got hit by the Dodgers, actually got hit by a pitch and broke his hand. He was probably on pace for a 25+ home run year.
Ishikawa struck out his first time, so he is trying to stay at the Mendoza line, which, you know, you're not having a good spring if you're trying to hit 200. No, you're not. And Ishikawa was really a postseason surprise and star for the Giants last year in their run to and winning the World Series, playing some left field as well, and actually made some nice plays out there defensively. Number 21 round pick by the Giants, 2002. 47 games at the big league level last year. Ishikawa backs off a pitch inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
This lineup, by the way, for the Giants, Bruce Bochy had been talking a lot about maybe Angel Pagan will hit third this year, even though he's having a poor spring. They thought about Aoki leading off against right-handers and Pagan being the switch hitter, being in that 3 spot. We'll see.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Runner at first. Runner is going at first. Pitch down low, swung on the miss. Throw down to second base is in time. A good throw by Yasmani Grandal. Turns out to strike him out, throw him out, double play. And Belt is left high and dry, 2-6 on the putout. And for young Mr. Carlos Frias, the 3rd inning, a much different inning and a much different approach with the breaking ball as well. We've gone through 3 innings, bright sunshine and warm weather. No, it's hot in Scottsdale, tied at 3. 3-3 tie. We go to the 4th inning. Kike Hernandez just chuckling because on this simulcast on Sportsnet LA that they showed one of the fans out on the grassy bank in left field applying what we believe was suntan lotion or sunscreen. He reacted like it was bug spray.
It's supposed to be 97 today.
Sunscreen. For those who join us late, we talked about it at the edge of the overhang to the stadium. And if you have been in exceptionally hot and dry weather, they have the misters turned on. Pop up, Buster Posey at the last second tosses the mask away, makes the catch, and Hernandez fouls off. Now, I'm not sure how the misters really do affect the temperature, but at least from a mental standpoint, you think, aha.
Get a little breeze of that flowing this way, you know, even in the press box here. Floats down.
There's a lot of breezes in the press box.
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot of hot air, right?
Darwin Barney is the batter. Bounce back to the pitcher his first time up. Darwin, as we understand, arrived here and realized the jersey that he had brought with him as he pops it up foul off to the right. Somehow, some way had gotten torn to where it could not be even worn for the game. So they sent an SOS system across the other side of the Valley of the Sun to Glendale. And I don't know if they got Mario Andretti to bring it over or not. Good news is it's on a Sunday. If you have not been to Phoenix in a while or to Scottsdale in a while, don't expect to be traveling anywhere close to rush hour traffic without being backed up.
Well, there's traffic now these days.
There are freeways to accommodate some of the traffic that did not exist years and years ago, and now there are freeways that not quite so fast. And a big crowd here at Scottsdale this afternoon. 1-2 to Barney's outside, 2 balls and two strikes. Taking care of a piece of business. That runner caught stealing, thrown out by Grandal. Another $100 donation to the Dodgers Foundation by Bay Alarm, your local security expert. Barney drives one to left field, and waiting for it is Ishikawa, who'll make the catch. 2 down. By the way, with Bay Alarm, you're protected 24/7, and you can manage your own system. Free security review. Call 1-800-610-1000 or go to bayalarm.com. bayalarm.com. What have you got to lose? Carlos Frias, strikeout victim, his first time up, and with the way that he maneuvers himself around this batter's box, he is 2 strikes away from his second punch out of the afternoon.
Waving at us. More of what you want is at Nissan now, and now the best time to get great offers across their exciting full line. Shop ChooseNissan.com at your local Nissan store today. Hurry, offer ends soon.
So does Frias at that.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So Matt Cain says, hey, you didn't get to that sale on time. 1, 2, 3 inning. We go to the bottom of the 4th, tied at 3. Tie, both teams with 6 hits. Carlos Frias, his first start in an A game this spring. 4th game overall. Settled down after the first inning. Settled down a little bit in that second. But he was spot on in the 3rd. And here in the 4th inning, he'll face the bottom 3rd of the Giants lineup. Brandon Crawford, who takes the first pitch outside, ball 1. Matt Duffy and then Matt Cain to follow.
Might have been his first changeup. I believe it was a changeup, his first one of the game after 51 pitches.
There's the pitch, and it's fouled off. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Frias did have an efficient 3rd inning. 11 pitches, 8 for strikes, and threw some nice cutters, sliders. Fastball still at 96.
1-1 pitch. It's taken for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Okay. We are both, I think, admitted. I won't put words into your mouth, but I think I know you well enough. We are both admittedly old school.
Absolutely.
Guess. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Where do we
Proud of it.
Where do we fall on pitch counts? Just the numbers. Ball is slashed to left field. Not hit hard at all. It may have been a broken bat off the end of the ball, but a base hit nonetheless for Brandon Crawford. But we hear so much about pitch counts.
Yeah.
But there are different ways to look at pitch counts that I think are more indicative than just the number.
Yeah, it's the stress of the inning, really. I mean, if you're talking about a 25-pitch inning, 28-pitch inning, that's where the pitchers get worn down. I'm not a big pitch count guy because as guys like I had 2 pitchers that were strikeout pitchers in the big leagues managing, and one was Roger Clemens, the other was Nolan Ryan, and both of them used to say, Kevin, you know, I strike out a lot of guys, so my pitch count's going to be higher, and guys are going to foul balls off, and you know, don't worry about pitch count with me. And I didn't. I wasn't a pitch count guy anyway, but that's really where I'm at. It just depends on the individual, you know, but I think more guys need to take the ball and plan on going 9.
Matt Duffy just takes inside for a strike on the corner. Drew a walk his first time up. Crawford's over at first, held by Justin Turner. This call strike 2. I personally wish Nolan Ryan had been on a pitch count.
I'll bet.
While he was pitching.
Yeah, because he truly threw 160, sometimes 170 pitches.
And when Nolan Ryan began to throw the curveball, everybody knew about the fastball. But you could hear him grunt as he released the ball.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, there was, and the amazing thing about Ryan, Nolan Ryan, and really for Roger Clemens too, there were 2 power pitchers. And I look at Nolan Ryan, as hard as he threw, who was healthy every year.
He sure was.
Might have had a little tweak of a calf muscle here and there, but the arm was fine. There's a line drive, base hit. Just past Justin Turner, goes into right field. Yasiel Puig throws it in the fly. No need for a cutoff man on that throw.
Well, and another fastball right there from Frias. No, didn't need a cutoff man. You're looking at me.
There's not a cutoff man in the world that's tall enough to get that.
No, I don't think so. Take another look at Yasiel Puig. Does a 360 and just really airmails that one. Yeah, it hits third base, but
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on a 12-foot ladder
not a chance.
Would not have been able to cut that ball off.
Chance.
And Kareem could get everything. So there's 2 on, first and second. Matt Cain is scheduled, but he is going to give way. And it's going to be Justin Maxwell come on as a pinch hitter. So Maxwell, right-handed batter, comes on with 2 on, nobody out, a 3-3 tie here in the 4th inning. Frias delivers. Actually not a bad attempt on a pitch. He went low and away trying to get the ground ball and the double play and get rid of a couple of headaches.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the velocity, obviously. We know that. 96, 97. It's just the command. He just hasn't learned command of the fastball. Control in the zone is one thing, but really to command your fastball, that's a different thing than just throwing cookies down the middle.
Maxwell, right-handed batter. He's hits it off to Fist. Little lazy fly ball to shallow center field. Waiting for it is Peterson. Schock makes the catch, and there is the first out of the 4th inning. The runners will hold. As a reminder, for every Dodger home run hit this season, the Daniels Jewelers family donates $1,000 to local children's charities. Over $500,000 over the last 4 seasons. So keep in mind, Daniel's Jewelers, making diamond dreams come true since 1948. Tim Wallach, who is running the ball club with Don Mattingly and the rest of the coaching staff, a split squad action at Camelback Ranch, Glendale against the Texas Rangers. Well, for Carlos Frias, his afternoon has been completed with the veritable pitch counts. We have a pitching change back with Scottsdale Stadium and more baseball right after this commercial timeout. Ability should they score. Juan Nicasio, the right-hander, comes on last season with the Rockies. 14 starts, 33 games overall. ERA, of course, the discounted Rockies earned run average after the games, playing at almost 5,280 feet above sea level. Inflated just a little bit under 5.5, but for Nicasio, he is another guy, kind of an interesting arm, Kevin.
He is, Rick. He's a four-seam fastball pitcher, mainly 67% of the time. That's what he threw last year, 93.5 mile-an-hour average. Mixes in a slider at about 25 to 26% of the time at 85 miles an hour. So they really a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider. So everything is pretty hard. An occasional changeup. Last year he threw the changeup 4% of the time. That's it.
Nicasio has worked 10 innings. He has not walked a batter and struck out 10. Pickoff attempt back at second base. That is one of the plays the Dodgers worked on at Camelback Ranch, Glendale, a couple of days ago.
I like that right coming out before the first pitch too, just to work on it and let the base runner at second know not to get a big secondary lead. I think that's the main reason for some of these pickoffs.
And it's also a learning situation. Nori Aoki is the batter. Pointed out earlier, Aoki with his hands over the plate. There's a line drive down to shortstop, backhanded by Hernandez. Makes the toss over to second base, safe at second. But now they make the appeal over to first base, and they're saying that Duffy did not get back to the bag in time. So it goes 6-4-3 on the double play, and they double up the runner at first base. The Giants look confused. The spectators look puzzled. And the umpires are, well, they're all huddling behind second base area. A strange double play as a throw went over to first, and Turner tagged out the runner. Strange play indeed.
Smart play by Barney just to flip it over there just in case, and Duffy never got back.
So Nicasio puts the lid on the inning and comes in and gets an unorthodox double play. We've gone through 4 innings of play. The Dodgers 3 and the defending world champion Giants also 3. 3-3 tie. We go to the top of the 5th inning. A very unusual double play with runners at first and second. A line drive hit down to Kike Hernandez, who backhanded the ball. He threw to Darwin Barney. Well, the runner at second base was not doubled up. Barney then threw over to first base to Justin Turner, and Turner tagged out the runner. Matt Duffy, who was as confused as everybody else. In fact, Duffy was trying to duck the throw. And we figured it goes back again. Ryan Vogelsong, by the way, comes in relief. The pitch change brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. No freezers, no microwaves, no heat lamps ever. At In-N-Out Burger, when it comes to burgers, fries, and shakes, always fresh is the only way. Why not stop in after the game? Vogelsong, you see the numbers last year on this simulcast. 32 games, 1 complete game. As he pitches to Jock Peterson. And the count now 2 balls and no strikes.
Vogelsong relies on control, command of his fastball, his changeup, his curve, and his cutter. Basically a 4-pitch pitcher.
37-year-old right-hander. The 2-0 on the way to Peterson, who homered his last time up. He hits it a mile high as he pops it up behind second base bag. Shortstop Brandon Crawford is there. Makes the catch, and there's the initial out here in the top of the 5th.
It's Chevy Truck Month, where you can get great offers on the Silverado and the all-new Chevy Colorado. The 2015 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Chevy trucks, high-strength steel for high-strength dependability, only at your local Southern California Chevy dealer.
One other change for the Giants. Justin Maxwell, who came on as a pinch hitter for Matt Cain, remains in the game in left field. So Vogelsong will be put into the place in the lineup, at least. He will not bat, I'm sure of that, but where Travis Ishikawa was in the 6th position. Justin Turner takes a strike. And I say that because invariably we run into someone who says, you know, I score every game. I keep a scorebook, which is a great way to follow the game if you're listening. And people even spring training keep very accurate, detailed scorebooks. Fouled off and out of play, and I discovered that a number of years ago when I did Dodger Talk on the weekends. And there was a lady that called in and says, hey, on Wednesday I had to go shopping and I missed what happened in the 7th inning. I was in and out of the car, didn't hear what happened on such and such play. So I went back into the book, and that's the great thing about this game of baseball is you can recreate every game that has, well, ever been played, really. I will tell you about a site you can go check it out if you want to remember what took place. You remember the day you saw your very first game, your first major league game? Well, you can go back. It's Retro Sheet is the website.
Great.
And you can select the year, the team, the date, and the game. And this great game of baseball, you can read the box score and recreate it. There's not another sport that you can do that with.
No, it's awesome. You know, and I learned from going to Dodger games as a kid, and my dad got a scorebook every time we went. And he taught me how to score the game. That's how I learned.
Breaking ball to Turner. Hits down to first base. Bobbled by Brandon Belt. Picks it up. Underhand toss over to Vogelsong. On the cover, and the out goes 3-1. But you can literally recreate the games and tell who the umpires were, what the temperature was, the attendance of that day, where it was played, who started, who pinch hit for. I mean, it's fascinating to look at and reconstruct a baseball game.
It is. Matter of fact, I looked up the Koufax perfect game again. That was one I listened to, September the 9th, 1965, and Sandy received an award this year with Bob Henley and Vin Scully. And in the New York Writers dinner this winter.
Yasiel Puig, the batter. He lines one to left field, but waiting for it is Justin Maxwell. So Vogelsong, 37-year-old right-hander in relief of Matt Cain, has a 1-2-3 inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. Through 4.5 in Scottsdale, Arizona. Dodgers and Giants tied at 3. Rick Money and Kevin Kennedy, along with producer engineer Dwayne McDonald from Scottsdale Stadium in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was 87 degrees at game time. Have not checked recently, but feel pretty certain it is in the low 90s and headed up to mid-90. A couple of changes defensively for the Dodgers. Joey Carletta has now taken over in right field, and Lars Anderson has positioned himself at first base. Juan Nicasio, who came in the fourth inning with runners at first and second, one out, got the double play to end the inning. Now delivers to Joe Panik. Takes outside on the corner. 0-1 the count. Panik has doubled and he's also walked. One other change, and it does not involve different personnel, but Darwin Barney has moved to shortstop from second base, and Kike Hernandez, who was at shortstop, moves to second. Nicasio delivers a ball down the left field line. Long run for Andre Ethier. Can't get it. He'll have to retrieve it right at the 360 mark down the left field line, and a stand-up double for Joe Panik. His second double of the afternoon. He's been on base all three times.
That's similar to the ball Joe Panik hit to left center in the first inning, where it faded away. As a left-handed hitter hitting the ball that way, the ball will tail away from the outfielder, and there's nowhere for Andre Ethier to go. The ball just kept running away from him, slicing, and he picks it up and has to get it back into third base.
Carlos Frias went 3 1/3 innings, 3 runs on 8 hits. He had 3 strikeouts, 1 double play ball behind him, and walked 2.
You know, Rick, just to tag the defensive changes up the middle with Barney and Kike Hernandez, people wondering why. I don't know if you turned in yesterday, but Rick, we were talking a lot about the 4 guys playing in the game, fighting basically maybe for 1 spot, maybe there's 2. We're talking about Barney and Kike Hernandez a lot. Alex Guerrero, of course.
Angel Pagan, the batter, has strike 1 on him. Nicasio is sent. Checks the runner. Panik at second. Now delivers. And it's high and outside. Ball 1.
And so what Tim Wallach was doing today is he wants to see Barney now a few innings at shortstop, and now Kike at second. Kike has played short today. Yesterday he played left field. Guerrero, of course, third base yesterday, third base today. So the 3 guys around the infield at short, second, and third are really fighting for a spot.
1 ball, 1 strike, nobody out. Here in the bottom of the 5th inning, a 3-3 tie. Nicasio misses outside. 2 balls and a strike. That guy, again, whether it be preseason or actual championship season, every time there's somebody on base, you look in the on-deck circle and there's Buster Posey.
Yeah, sure is.
Pagan holds the bat high. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Nicasio checks, now delivers. Breaking ball, nicely placed outside corner. Came back and got the corner. Out of count 2-2.
You mentioned last inning when Nicasio came in, he hadn't walked a batter this spring, and that's really a priority of Farhan Zaidi and Andrew Friedman in acquiring some of the guys that they did. Most of those guys that they acquired are guys that have a good strikeout to walk ratio.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Nicasio delivers, and it's strike 3. Swing and a miss on a bad fastball. At least from Pagan's standpoint, it was high and away. But Nicasio gets the strikeout. Pagan is over anxious. 1 out. Here's Posey.
Well, Pagan continues to struggle. Came in hitting 130 this spring. He does have a base hit in the first inning. He's 1 for 3 now. And Bruce Bochy continues to try Pagan in that 3 spot, but so far it hasn't worked out all that well this spring.
Buster Posey has singled in a run, bounced out to third. You know, for those who were with us a minute ago, I mentioned the website to go, and there may be some confusion of those. It's retrosheet.org. And if you have been around the game and you're wondering, well, I wonder what took place. I remember that game. It was in, what was it, July? I was 12. I went to the stadium because you normally remember what it was. Check it out, retrosheet.org.
Yeah, that game I was talking about, Koufax's perfect game, I went back this winter and looked it up on Retro Sheet, and just a reminder to see who was the final 6 outs.
1-1 lifted high to right field. It's hit pretty well, but playable. Curletta just in the game. His right foot on the warning track. Makes the catch. Runner at second. Panic will tag and go to third. Posey, even when he misses the ball, sends it a long way.
You bet. And Curletta, by the way, has been in a couple of A games this spring. He's a young man that was in the Midwest League last year, and he's from Phoenix. He was born right here in Phoenix. Dodgers number 6 pick in 2012 out of Mountain Point High School in Phoenix. Decent numbers in A-ball in 133 games. Joey hit .277 with 7 home runs and 68 RBIs.
Did you get that on Retro Sheet?
Quickly, I did.
Quickly.
Yeah. I'm at loss if my computer
Here's
goes down.
Brandon Belt, aren't we all now? Belt is 2 for 2. He's knocked in a run. Left-handed batter, slightly open stance, and he takes outside, ball 1.
Or if my phone goes out, I'm in trouble. A smartphone, you know. Too smart for me.
Well, if you were that smart, it could find you.
I'm battling a GPS this morning, which you fixed, thankfully. Last couple of days.
Helps to have a navigator.
Yeah, it does.
Here's the 1-0 to Belt. Way outside and high. 2 balls and no strikes.
And I've lived here before, but not when they've had all these freeways. In fact, I thought it was interesting. We haven't gotten to it yet. I know the game's on the line here, but I haven't been to this stadium in a long time, and you directed me in, and I didn't even know you could get in the back way like that. And the last time I was here, as you mentioned, there was a police station out there in right field.
It was.
What happened?
There is an entire road that they took out behind the right field fence. They went from right towards center.
Yeah.
They cut it off beyond the fence in center field. So it used to go back about 20 feet behind the right field fence, and then there was a road. And then on the other side of the road was the Scottsdale Police Department.
Yeah.
Well, the police department has been moved, and where that police department was, just to the right of the tower, for those who are watching the simulcast.
Good shots right there.
There are some half fields back there. Well, there was a car wash for the police cars back then. And down the right field line, where there are some bleachers now, there was a half diamond.
Yep. That's it.
So the teams that trained here, you were really kind of limited. There was a half diamond field down the right field line, foul territory, just beyond that last section of bleachers.
Yep.
And there was a batting cage down the left field line behind the bleachers for 1 batter.
Isn't that something?
And Belt takes outside ball 4. So it was not a duel. It was not a triple. It was not a quad batting cage. It was a single batting cage. So you're really at a disadvantage if you had spring training.
Oh, yeah, and you did. I thought your stories today driving in with me were
with the Chicago
phenomenal.
Cubs. In fact, the first game that I ever saw, professional game in spring training. I was a freshman at Arizona State. That's when the Red Sox were training here. I walked into the stadium. We got good seats right behind home plate. And who was pitching for the Red Sox? Dick Raditz.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, this is a different game.
Big arm. Huge arm.
Ryan Vogelsong is the batter.
Grandal now going out in front of home plate to give the signs in case of first and third stolen base attempt. And with 2 outs, a lot of times you won't throw through. Just because you have 2 outs and you don't want them to steal a run here. But we'll see. Grandal's thrown 2 runners out today.
First and third. Great time for a ground ball. Get the final out. Grandal sets on the outside corner. Vogelsong waits. Here's the pitch. Fastball up and in. Well, you don't have to worry about the ground ball if you throw high cheese up and in and get someone to offer at it. You asked me earlier as we're driving over this morning. You said, well, did Raditz impress you? I said, did it seem like he was throwing 100 miles an hour?
Exactly.
I said, no, 5,000 miles
You did. That's exactly what you said, because I remember that he got it up there to 98 to 100.
Oh, my gosh.
Easily. Oh, yeah.
A big, burly guy. Don't think about charging the mound. Here's the 0-2 to Vogelsong, and he fouls it off to the right side.
Yeah, he was. I got to know him later because I worked in Boston those years in the 90s, and he was the pregame and postgame TV analyst. And boy, if he didn't like what you were doing as a manager, whether they're the Red Sox manager or not, he would call you out.
So
he was say whatever you want.
He was on the radio the same way he was on the mound.
Yeah, oh yeah,
okay.
And TV. Oh yeah, he didn't care if you worked for the Red Sox and you were the manager or not.
Okay. Nicasio, the 0-2, and it's a line drive, base hit, right field. Ryan Vogelsong comes in to pitch, and now he comes up to hit, and he breaks the 3-3 tie. An RBI single to right, 4-3 San Francisco.
Well, Ryan kept getting fastballs in this sequence and got one to his liking. The ones above his hands he was swinging through. This one was down a little bit, but right over the heart of the plate for the most part. Got his hands inside it, had a crisp single to right field.
Well, this is spring training, and you know, if you're going to discuss the game of baseball in an armchair or whatever it's going to be, or by the pool, or with a cold refreshment in your hand, if you see someone that cannot handle a ball above the belt buckle, why would you give something downstairs?
Yeah, that's a mistake pitch.
Here's Brandon Crawford. Takes outside, ball one.
Just go up the ladder a little bit higher.
Especially when you're ahead in the count 0-2 or 1-2.
You get ahead 0-1 and you go a little bit higher and you go 0-2. If he chases that one, then go even higher.
Now, what we had just done, some people say, oh, they're second guessing. No, we're discussing the game of baseball.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beauties of this game, because it is played at a pace that you can discuss what just took happen.
It's just teaching, too, how to get people out. You know, and I'm sure he didn't want that right down the middle. And mistakes get hit in the big leagues, even if you're a pitcher hitting.
2-0 to Brandon Crawford. Run across, it's 4-3 Giants. Dodgers scored a run in the first. Giants answered with 2 of their own in that same frame. Giants then added 1 more in the second inning.
Well, now Grandal is going to go out and have a little conversation with Nicasio, and that's good. I mean, that's what we thought we might see with Frias in that rough first inning, but as the game's gone on, Grandal has something to say to Nicasio he didn't like. 2 outs here. Don't let a 1-run inning become a 3 or 4 run inning. Crawford will surprise you too with his power to right field. Pop one once in a while.
Brad Duffy would be the next batter. And if he moves 10 to 12 feet to his left from the on-deck circle, he'd be directly behind home plate.
Yeah.
Pitch is fouled off, and the count 3-1 now to Brandon Crawford.
Well, when you go out,
he's almost directly behind home plate.
He is.
That's amazing.
Going to get one straight back. What Grandal went out to do on the 3-0 count, why would you go out on a 3-0? It's to say, hey, you might be swinging 3-0. They've shown that today, and indeed Brandon Crawford was. So put something on it.
Runner's not going. On the 3-1, it's fouled off. They will be going here. From second will be Belt. From first is Vogelsong.
Yeah, you're right, Rick. I mean, Duffy, yeah, if he moves a few more feet to his left, he is right behind home plate directly.
Well, we've known some pitchers over the years that if you wanted to stand there and get a real good look, you better duck because the pitch would go right at you.
I think Dick Raddatz would do that.
There's a guy by the name of Gibson that might do it, and a guy by the name of Don Drysdale, I think, would have done it too.
For sure.
Yeah, you want a good look? Here, check this one out. And Crawford gets a good look at ball 4. That'll load the bases, and that's, you know, you go figure. Is that Nicasio had not walked a batter in the 10 innings that he'd worked, and he walks 2 batters here in this inning. Chuck Krim, who is normally the bullpen coach for the Dodgers, the acting pitching coach for this split squad game in Scottsdale, makes his way out to the mound.
And what do you do with Duffy here in this situation? And, you know, all hitters at this point, when they get to the big leagues, they can get there because they can hit the fastball. They get sent down because they can't hit the secondary stuff. So if you're Duffy and you're watching Nicasio, you got to be looking fastball to jump on at first pitch here. Not saying you can't throw one, but you got to have an idea of where you're putting this first pitch.
Yeah, the fastball can be handled, and even at high velocity, eventually you got a chance to catch up to it.
Yeah.
A different story with something that is changing the plane. Moving in, moving out, moving away.
Right.
and disproving the theory that some genius had a number of years ago that a curveball was simply an optical illusion.
I remember.
There's a simple way to disprove that theory. Grab a bat. Well, grabbing a bat, Matt Duffy takes inside, ball one.
And that was indeed the slider first pitch. So Chuck Krim and Yasmani Grandal are talking to Nicasio, and they said the same thing we just talked about. And they start with the slider, but he got underneath it badly and missed middle in.
Bases loaded. Nicasio works from the stretch. 4-3 Giants. We're in the bottom of the fifth inning. Balls upstairs. 2 balls and no strikes.
Back-to-back sliders at 85 miles an hour.
Well, there is action in the Dodgers bullpen, which is directly down the left field line at Scottsdale Stadium.
Sergio Santos is scheduled to throw today at some point.
2-0 delivery. Is in for the strike. 2-1. Three runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs and 10 hits for the Giants. Duffy waits. Runners lead off. 2-1, fouled back. 2-2.
That last shot, Rick, we saw behind the screen, that was Sergio Santos. That masked man we saw. I believe that is Santos. Yeah, it's him.
Well,
thank you.
It may be spring, but I don't think he's going to come back in. Just taking a wild guess. Although
we'll see.
We played with everything except the free substitution rule.
Yeah.
In the first couple of weeks of spring.
Yeah.
But opening day, thank goodness, is 1 week from tomorrow.
It's coming.
1 week.
Ready.
2-2 on the way. Ground ball, first base hit. That's going to score a couple of runs. On a base hit between Lars Anderson playing at first and the bag. A 3-run inning thus far for the Giants. And they take a 6-3 lead. It was not hit hard, but perfect placement. That's going to be all for Nicasio as Tim Wallach makes his trip out to the mound.
Yeah, mislocation fastball. Grandal sets up away. This ball was middle in and just got enough of it down the right field line with the defense off the line at first base. Lars Anderson, no chance. And again, Rick, it's about location. The fastball, great, 95, but you can't miss by 12 inches or 10 inches in the big leagues.
Nicasio had not walked a batter in 10 innings before coming in today's game. First inning that he worked, he got the double play ball. Got out of the fourth, but did not get out of the fifth inning. Pitching change in Scottsdale. Back with that change after this commercial timeout. Sergio Santos enters the ball game, and he will inherit runners at first and third. 3 runs in, there are 2 outs. It's now 6-3 Giants, and the pitching change is brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. Fresh cut fries from real potatoes, shakes made with real ice cream. fresh toasted buns, and pure beef patties. At In-N-Out, that's what freshness is all about. And why not stop in right after the completion of this game? Santos and hearing a couple of runners, and Justin Maxwell is the batter. The first ball hits it a high towering fly ball to right center field. Backing up is Peterson, and he makes the catch. Santos very efficient. He makes one pitch and gets out of the inning. But not before the defending world champion Giants come up with 3 runs. They got there on 3 hits, and they strand a pair of runners. To the 6th we go in Scottsdale. 6-3 Giants. Dodgers needing to play catch up here in the 6th inning. And young fans with baseball gloves in hands and maybe big dreams of someday I'll be out there. Yasmani Grandal takes the first pitch from Ryan's Vogelsong for a strike. Grandal today is 1 for 2. An RBI double came in the 3rd inning. Vogelsong in relief of Matt Cain. Big right-hander in his 2nd inning of work. Delivers, and that's down low, 1-1. Base coaches a little different for the Dodgers this year, or at least in this game. John Shoemaker is coaching over at first base, a longtime member of the Dodgers organization, and Razor Shines, a Double-A manager, one of the delightful people, as is John Shoemaker for that matter. But Razor Shines was called up at the end of last season to travel with the team over the last couple of weeks. And to sit next to him on the plane and listen to his stories, just amazing. 2-1 is outside on the corner, 2-2 breaking ball. Razor Shines has such a tremendous respect for the game of baseball and for life, for that matter. He's had hardships and up and down, but you begin to look at the coaches and managers who are really working with the future of the organization. They are indeed special people.
Yeah, it's the backbone. And, you know, the Dodger organization historically has been very strong over the years. I mean, they're back, especially even when Tommy Lasorda, even Walt Olson, for that matter, was managing.
Fly ball to left field. That's hit pretty well. Over in the corner is Maxwell. He leaps up, and it is off the wall. And headed to second with a stand-up double is Yasmani Grandal. Maxwell kept drifting on the ball, and the ball just kept drifting back farther. And the leadoff double by Grandal.
It had a lot of carry on it, that's for sure. And I don't think even Grandal thought that ball had a chance to go off the wall and be a double as he cruised into second base.
So the double, John Shoemaker will go out and get the protective padding that Grandal wears.
Vogelsong with the pitch. It was down, and Grandal got through it. Maxwell, he just didn't quite get to the wall, really. He kind of drifted on it.
He drifted back instead of running the spot. The ball's going to come down. It was high off the wall, but it was a catchable ball. Would have been a great catch.
Yep.
Here's Andre Ethier. He struck out and walked today. Takes outside an off-speed pitch, ball one.
That's why yesterday watching Mike Trout in center field take that home run away from Guerrero was just a perfect exhibition of how to make that play. He looked at the wall twice, knew where he was, got to the spot, put his hand out against the wall, and took it about 3 feet above the wall to take the home run away.
Ethier takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers trying to come up with some runs and embrace a 3-run deficit. 6-3 Giants here in the 6th inning. The final meeting of 3 this spring. These 2 ball clubs will meet for real on the 21st of April at AT&T Park in San Francisco, the first of their 19 matchups this year. Dodgers won 10 of the 19 last year. And Ethier again in a disagreement with home plate umpire Chris Guccione. The breaking ball takes a strike 1 and 2.
All day long. Rick, I was thinking about the coaching staff back when Tommy managed, and then Alston before that. There wasn't as much turnover because all the coaches were intact. And you had 2 managers in about, what, 44 years? So, you know, the minor league.
1-2 is outside, 2 and 2. I'm reminded it had a long, just a nice chat with the Hall of Fame manager.
Tommy today, yeah.
Tommy Lasorda, who tried to sign me actually out of Santa Monica High School. Had a nice talk with him just about the game of baseball. And he's something. 2-2. Ethier waits, and Vogelsong winds and delivers, and it's just outside, ball 3.
I heard you in the other room. I was waiting for a friend to come out as I was sitting in the lobby, and I heard you laughing in there. So you said something that made him laugh. I don't know if you could share it or not, but I heard some laughter.
He was talking about one particular player, and I said, yeah, and every time that player's name was brought up, I said, even from across the room, we could see the veins in your neck. Dodger Blue Veins pick off attempt back at second, and it goes off the glove of the shortstop Crawford and goes into shallow center field. But Grandal could not get up in advance, diving back in head first.
Take another look. Crawford just tried to put the glove down for the tag before he actually had the ball, and it ticked off his glove, and Panic was there to back it up.
Well, teams over the next few days are going to be refining those plays, those pickoff plays, whether it be time plays or just trying to get them ready for the season. Here's the payout pitch to Ethier. Line drive, base hit up the middle to center field. Grandal around third. He will score easily, and for Andre Ethier, the RBI single, it's a 6-4 Giant lead.
Well, Andre continues to hit. Came in hitting .304 this spring. 1 for 2 today with a base hit, RBI, and a walk. The Dodgers a little bit closer.
So Ethier will give way to a pinch runner, and we will give way to station identification right here in the Dodgers Radio Network. Jacob Scavuzzo is down at first base and pinch running for Andre Ethier. Jacob Scavuzzo. Pitch to Alex Guerrero is hit off the knuckles foul down the right field, down the first baseline, and Guerrero shaking off his right hand. By my record, Kevin, Jacob Scavuzzo will be the 56th different position player that we have seen up here in a Dodger game.
Rick, I was thinking that you had 55, and I didn't remember this name being in an A game yet, so add 1 more.
56 position players, not pitchers.
Yeah.
Guerrero waits, and he gets jammed again. That ball went over the first base dugout, only into about the 3rd row.
Well, that was the other thing about what was so great about Dodger Town, and it's still great at Camelback Ranch, but everybody, the minor leaguers, were all there with the major leaguers. The clubhouses were side by side, actually only divided by the laundry room in the kitchen in there. And so
Pitch to Guerrero, breaking ball just outside.
You really got to know the big leaguers just walking out to your fields if you were a minor league guy. And Tommy would see, and if you liked the look of a certain player, he'd say, bring that kid over, let him pinch run at the end of the game.
And the same way with the dining room. Is that everybody would stay on base. You sat down, and it could be at a table with a guy that just signed 2 months ago is going to play in rookie ball or a big leaguer. And then the golf course was there, too.
Absolutely.
You take some of the younger guys under their wing. Ground ball, backhanded it short. Nicely by Crawford. He'll turn to go to second for one. Back to first, double play. Nicely done. Brandon Crawford, we talked earlier about if he can hit around 250. They are extremely satisfied because what he can do with the gloves.
Yeah, I was mentioning before, and we had a really quick inning. We couldn't really finish the point on Crawford. I compared to Andrelton Simmons, who a lot of people think is the best shortstop in the National League. I like Crawford the best because I like his throwing mechanics better. And his first step quickness is phenomenal, as you just saw. I just think he throws ideally just from a good position as a shortstop, sets up well with the feet, etc. Not that Simmons isn't good. I like him, but this guy's tough.
Breaking ball to Kike Hernandez for a curveball in there for a strike, 0-1. You know, folks, if you got in your car when this game got underway, you could have listened to the broadcast and already be at Chumash Casino Resort, located in the beautiful Santa Barbara wine country, just 2 hours north of Los Angeles. For more information, visit ChumashCasino.com. Hernandez swings and fouls it off. No balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs, a run across. Leadoff double by Grandal, high off the left field wall. An RBI single by Ethier. For Ethier, his 10th run batted in. Vogelsong into the windup. Posey sets way outside, and the pitch is even farther away. 1-2.
You know, Andre, speaking of Andre versus Jock Peterson this spring, both guys have responded to their roles, so to speak, in spring training, I think.
Hernandez takes upstairs 2-2.
Because Jock was expected to be the center fielder, and he's responded by having a phenomenal spring. Ethier didn't know.
Yeah. And they're both being asked questions.
Every day.
Peterson is being asked, well, do you think the center field position is yours? What do you think about it? Ball slammed down the left field line, just fouled by about a foot. And Andre Ethier every day is being asked, well, do you think you're going to be here?
Right.
What are your feelings? And a credit to both of them.
I think so.
That they've gone about it very professionally. Ethier's gone through it before. Jock Peterson, this is the first time on that Ferris wheel, if you will.
Yeah, and Ethier helped Jock a lot last September when Jock got called up. I think about the thing in Chicago.
2-2, call strike 3. Hernandez did not like that call as well. A double, an RBI single, a double play, and now a strikeout. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left. Through 5.5 in Scottsdale on the scoreboard. Giants 6, Dodgers 4. 6-4 Giants. Sergio Santos, who entered the ball game, stays in the game on the mound. A couple of other changes very quickly for this Dodger ball club. Justin Maxwell, but that's for the Giants. Jacob Scavuzzo, who pinch ran for Ethier, is in left field. Travis Witherspoon takes over in center. And Luis Mateo is now playing at third base. That is all, at least for now.
Straight up on your scorecard. Which not every manager does that, by the way. Mike Scioscia didn't do that yesterday. He's got to manage, so, you know, the way he manages.
Got to be the old trickster.
There he goes.
Doc Edwards did that once.
Yeah, I played for Doc.
That was
AAA.
San Diego. Jerry Coleman is my beloved man. And we miss him. And he was not only American League Rookie of the Year. He was a Marine pilot. And we missed the Colonel.
Yeah, good man.
But when Doc Edwards of the Indians made 8 changes, and none of them were straight up. They were all in different spots in the lineup. Jerry Coleman tore out the page about the 7th inning. He just tore it up.
That's funny. I mean, when I hear that, I want to tell the guy, hey, you got the job. You got the job this spring. You're all right.
Nori Aoki is the batter, and the count is 3-1.
You're already hired.
Big crowd on hand here this afternoon. Happy to have you with us. And the Dodgers with just 4 more games. Actually, just 3 more games in Arizona. 4 counting today. Aoki draws the walk to lead off the inning. I want to remind you that this is your last chance, folks, to guarantee your seat for opening day. And that's a week from tomorrow. Now you can purchase this year's mini plan and see the Dodgers open up 2015 season against the Padres on the 6th of April, 1 week from tomorrow. It also includes all 10 bobbleheads, fireworks nights, and many more of the great promotions on hand for this year. So visit Dodgers.com/mini plans. Throw to first and easily back is Aoki, who is 1 for 1 in stolen base attempts this spring. So again, the Giants, their manager has not been happy. Bruce Bochy with his ball club. He came out, did not single out any one particular individual, but he let it be known that he's in charge and he's not liking what he has seen. They're 14th in the National League as a team batting average. They're last in the National League in earned run average as a pitching staff. And he says we have played sloppy baseball. Well, they have not played that well today, or that way today. Panic, waits, and delivers line drive, single up the middle. Witherspoon has a long way to chase it, and by the time he gets it, scampering over to third is Aoki. Well, one thing, many times have we said it, Kevin, you get a leadoff walk and nothing happens that you're really that thrilled with, even in spring.
Yeah, and I was timing Santos to home plate this time. The first pitch he was 159. The last pitch he was 115, so he quickened up the pitch just in anticipation that maybe there was a hit and run on, or Aoki was outright stealing, and he threw one right down the middle. And Panic is going to get a lot of fastballs hitting in that 2 spot this year, and sometimes he doesn't miss them.
And you can address this better than I. Angel Pagan, by the way, is the batter with first and third, nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2-run lead for the Giants, 6-4. Santos, the third Dodger pitcher, is a swing and a foul off the right foot of Pagan. But many times you see the catcher looking over to the dugout. He's not getting the pitch to call. In other words, not the fastball, curveball, and slider. But there's a lot of variances on what he is looking at, including a way to quicken up the pitcher and getting the ball to home plate.
Yeah, there's usually 3 things that the manager will call from the bench to the catcher is the step off, the quick step off. You want to see if there's a flinch over there, or the throw over, and you want to see a good move a lot of times, especially with a base stealer, or a pitch out.
0-1 the count to Pagan. And he takes a breaking ball outside corner. And the other one that is being instituted more and more often, the slide step.
Absolutely.
If a pitcher does have a pretty good slide step, and that slide step, for those that are not really that familiar with it, you're not taking your normal delivery where you pick the front foot up from that set position. You just slide it across the ground a little bit. Here's the 0-2. And a weak swing, but a foul into the Giants' first base dugout to count hold.
And there are still some organizations that will not use the slide step. They don't believe. I know the Boston Red Sox didn't believe in it when Joe Kerrigan was the pitching coach. He just thought it took too much away from the pitcher. He's too liable to make a mistake, especially, you know, and a lot of times a slide step, you're throwing something hard too, so it can tip off to the hitter. If you throw a slide step curveball, it's tough, and you feel like, oh, you might hang it if I do that. So if you see the slide step, a lot of times it's a hard pitch.
Breaking ball, line drive, base hit, right field. Run will score. Aoki from third, and for Angel Pagan, his second run batted in of the afternoon. 7-4 the Giants, and there's still nobody out here in the sixth.
Well, this is interesting today because you and I were talking in the break, and that's just pretty much right down the middle. Santos will throw the changeup about 10% of the time and a slider to go with the 95 fastball, but command hasn't been there today. But the bullpen is still a question mark, and everybody's wondering, is it going to be Chris Hatcher to close some games? Is it going to be Sergio Santos? Where does Nicasio fit in? I mean, and nobody has really separated themselves and say, hey, you know what? I want that job until Kenley gets back.
Gary Brown has come on as a pinch runner for Pagan at first base. Down at second is Panic. As we mentioned before, every time there's runners on base, it's that guy again. It's Posey, and he slams one high and deep to left center field. Going back is Witherspoon. Dives, can't get it. One hops over the wall. And a ground rule double for Busty Posey. One run will score. And every time he can do some damage, you look up and you blink a couple of times, and Posey has a bat in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big yard out there, as you mentioned earlier, Rick, in center field. And Witherspoon, see right here, that's a breaking ball. That's a hanging slider. And Posey thought he hit it out. And Witherspoon kept looking where the ball was and didn't really try to run to a spot. He kept looking up, and I think that he lost a couple of steps because of that. You would know better than I in center field, but he kept tracking the ball, and I think it slowed him down a step or two.
Well, the crowd reacting on the radio side. It's not for the pinch runner, Juan Perez. It's for the guy that he ran for, Buster Posey, who comes back into the Giants' first base dugout. So Juan Perez. Interesting that Perez is the pinch runner since he is an outfielder. Pinch running for a catcher. So we will only assume that there's going to be an additional change, Kevin. So
yeah, Bruce is going to mess us up here a little bit. Nothing straight up.
Brandon Belt, the batter. The 1-0 on the way. It's inside.
Now there's a pitch right there that was backhanded by Grandal, but really, with runners at second and third, you've got to get your legs out from underneath you and get the knees down. I mean, he was lucky. They take a look. So he's just got, he can't be picking that with runners at second and third. You got to block that.
What was a discussion, one of many that we had in the car this morning coming here?
Exactly that.
Exactly the same thing. Steve Yeager is not in attendance in this game. He's at the other game that's over in Camelback Ranch, Glendale. But that is going to be a concern, quite frankly. If you're not going to move your feet and you're not going to block the ball, and there's runners on base,
you've got to have you got to be on the balls of your feet with men on base, and or 2 strikes at every time with a base open, because otherwise, a ball in the dirt and you don't pick it, and a guy swings and misses, it's going to go to the backstop. And he got fortunate there; the ball was right in front of him, but there's no reason to backhand him. 2 men on, second and third, you got to smother it.
3-0 pitch, and Belt's taking all the way with first base open, and that's going to be the walk. Okay, here's a question for you as a former catcher. Let's say, for example, the listener or the viewer is the catcher. You're in the crouch, right?
Yep.
Where is the weight distribution on your feet?
Well, on that, you know, you call a breaking ball in the dirt, you got to anticipate number one, but you have to be really, Rick, I like to be on the balls of the feet, so I can go either way, almost in an athletic position like you're guarding somebody in basketball and you're defending somebody, so you can go either way because you never know where the ball is going to be. You anticipate the ball being in one spot.
Vogelsong is the batter,
but especially when a guy is showing he doesn't have command of his pitches today, you got to be ready to go either way. But really, and ideally, balls on your feet is where the weight has to be evenly distributed, but you have to get your feet out from underneath you so the knees go straight down rather than sliding the knees forward, because if you slide the knees forward, you're moving as the ball's coming in. It's going to kick off further from you. If you go straight down with the knees, getting the balls of your feet out from underneath you, the quickest way down is a straight line, and your upper body is going to be over the ball and smother it like a spoon or a cup, and the ball's going to land right out in front of you.
Vogelsong had an RBI single his last time up. He swings the bat very well. Swings it here, no contact, and a breaking ball.
Now right there, Grandal was up better. Looking at that last pitch, he was up better in a more athletic position, just in case the ball was in the dirt. 0-2 now right here. You got to be up, no matter what you call. You got to be in the balls of your feet.
Bases are loaded. Infield is in. Outfield the opposite way. Vogelsong waits. And the pitch by Santos. Breaking ball, called strike 3. And that was a dandy. Second out. Here comes Tim Wallach. And he is pointing to the bullpen down the left field line. He's still making his way out to the mound. We can also tell you in that split squad action right now, the Dodgers in their other game, Camelback Ranch Glendale leading the Texas Rangers 7-3. Bottom of the 6th inning of that one. Rollins, Kendrick, and Van Slyke are all 2 for 3. Buck Britton has hit a home run. Brandon McCarthy went 5 2/3 innings. 3 runs, all earned, however. Walked 2, had 4 strikeouts. So we have a pitching change here at Scottsdale Stadium with the Giants leading at 8-4. We'll have the change, and pitcher inherits. Bases are loaded. Back with more from the Valley of the Sun after this. Big left-hander Jeremy Horse comes on. He inherits bases loaded. 1 out. The batter, left-handed hitting Brandon Crawford, who is 1 for 2. He's also walked. Infield in tightly the corners at first and third. Of course, the 4th Dodger pitcher used ground ball down to first base. Nice play by the first baseman. Anderson throws home, and they get the force out to Grandal. So with 1 pitch, Horse gets the out. 3-1 to make that 3-2 on the putout. Runners were advanced 90 feet.
Horse saved a run right there. Anderson makes a nice play. Fastball, slider, changeup, lefty. Not a huge arm, about 90 to 91 is what he averages. Was with the Phillies organization the last few years. Originally signed by the Cincinnati Reds in 07.
And active at AAA last year, mostly out of the bullpen. Record of 4-2, ERA just a couple of clicks under 4. 2 out. Matt Duffy is the batter. Duffy has had a good afternoon. He's been on base all 3 times. He is singled. He's singled twice. The last time singled in 2 runs. He's also walked. Infield is back. Runners lead off, and the pitch is popped up to left field. It's playable. Coming over, Scavuzzo just did the ball game and puts it away. So one thing about the relievers today, when they have come in, inherited runners on base, they have gotten the job done, as did Jeremy Horst. He gets the 2 batters that he faces. 2 runs in, we go to the 7th inning at Scottsdale. 8-4 Giants lead. Scottsdale Stadium. It's only about a block and a half, 2 blocks east of Scottsdale Road, if you're familiar with downtown Scottsdale area. Just off of Osborne Road. 8-4 Giants. San Francisco makes some wholesale changes defensively. A couple of them we've gotten. Here Adrianza is taking over at shortstop as Darwin Barney hits one off the glove of the new third baseman. And for Barney, he will be aboard. A couple of the changes. Hector Sanchez is now doing the catching. Adam Duvall has taken over at first base.
Take a look at another swing right there. Darwin Barney. He's been hitting the ball hard. That had some topspin right there. Past the third baseman, and Dodgers 4-run down here in the 7th have a leadoff base runner.
And the Dodgers will go to the bench. And it's Brian Bergamy, who is the pinch hitter. A switch hitter batting from the left side, and I believe he becomes the 57th different position player.
These are called minor league additions.
Brian Bergamy.
The Dodgers chart this morning as they put the starting lineup out for the media and extra pitchers and extra infielders, and then they have a category called minor league additions.
Yes, and with split squad action.
Oh yeah,
you know, that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. If you're a young guy that's played A ball and you're getting a chance to have a big league at bat in an A game against the San Francisco Giants this late in the spring, you got to be pumped up.
Yep.
And excited about it.
Bergamy, as we mentioned, switch hitter, batting left-handed. Takes upstairs, ball 4. Well, he gets it at bat. He gets on base. And the Dodgers need some more base runners, down by 4 here in the top of the 7th inning. By the way, since we are in the 7th, if you're not in the stadium, and we assume that 99% of you are not here and listening on satellite radio, so you can bring home the taste of the Dodgers' world famous Chef Merito loaded nachos by driving to Ralph's and buying Chef Merito's carne asada seasoning. But get there before Kevin Kennedy has a barbecue planned at his house.
Better do it soon. Not many off days when we get back from spring training.
Travis Witherspoon is the batter. First at bat since taking over in center field for Jock Peterson. Peterson, by the way, was 2 for 3 today, including his 6th home run of the spring. Witherspoon, right-handed batter. Goldblum delivers, gets the strike, 1-1.
Witherspoon's from the Angel organization originally, signed in 2009. Number 12 draft pick for the Angels. He's out of Sumter, South Carolina.
Lars Anderson is on deck, awaiting his first at bat. And taking over at first for Justin Turner. That's just outside. Witherspoon's up there now, 2-1. Darwin Barney, the leadoff single off the glove of the third baseman, who's still remaining unidentified. And Brian Bergamy, pinch hitting, draws the walk. There was a great comment made by someone in the press box 2 weeks ago. Well, we had even more changes of players as it went along. Witherspoon takes a strike, 2-2, and the announcement was over the PA system in the press box was, there's a new first baseman, and we'll tell you who it is as soon as he turns around. Meaning, as soon as he turns around and sees his number, we can tell you who it is. Well, that's our case with the third baseman. And to this point, he has not been gracious enough or helpful enough to turn around. But he's a fine young man. And there he is. Well, it's Duffy's still there. Okay.
It's the only spot I guess they didn't change, Rick.
Because we kept looking for somebody else. We'd heard, well, there's a new third baseman. No, there's not.
Every other position there is.
So on this simulcast with television, our thanks to the crew, because excellent TV work, we finally were able to determine who it was at third base. It's still Duffy, and there's a swing and a miss. And for Vogelsong, that's going to be his final batter as Bruce Bochy makes his way out to the mound. Bruce, by the way, from a health standpoint, telling us this morning he is A-OK. And a couple of stints put in just a couple of weeks ago. He feels fine, and he recommends to all of us
that's what was funny.
Have some checkups because he had just gone through a physical exam the day before.
He passed it, too. How about that?
So he's doing all right. Vogelsong was doing all right and gets a big ovation here in Scottsdale. We'll be back with the new relief pitcher. We can tell you to begin with, he's left-handed. We'll identify him right after this. Javier Lopez is the reliever who comes in so many times in that side winding delivery. He is a workhorse as well. Last season, 65 games, 12 holds. Now that's a new category, but boy, if you're able to come in and close the door, you're doing a good job. And when he comes in, that normally means there's a left-handed batter, and Lars Anderson is about to find out what's all this talk about Javier Lopez and side-arming everybody, in particular even more against lefties. First and second, one out, 8-4 Giants. Anderson swings and misses 0-1.
That's what's for Bruce Bochy. This is where he makes his money. He is really good during a regular season at managing a pitching staff, and especially a bullpen, and he's got the pieces to do it. Lopez getting that lefty specialist. He's got Affelt that can hit and face both righties and lefties.
Slider outside, 1-1.
And this guy is tough, especially on lefties with that side winding delivery. Now, walks, Rick, were a little high last year for him. 19 walks in 37 innings. 22 strikeouts, about a 1-to-1 ratio. You like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio.
Barney at second. Bergamy is over at first. And Anderson slams one to right field, and that's going to drop for the base hit. Easily scoring is Darwin Barney, and going over to third is Brian Bergamy. So Lars Anderson, who has been watching and listening and reading about, well, difficulty lefties against Perez or make that Lopez, and he stays in there nicely, gets the RBI single.
Yeah, Anderson, of course, has had big league time back in the day with the Boston Red Sox, so he's no kid anymore. And he had a nice swing at that one, stayed in there against the tough lefty, and gets the Dodgers another run closer.
And now they bring the potential tying run to home plate. Joey Curletta in his first at bat since coming on. Larry Baer, the president of the San Francisco Giants, just dropped by the booth during that pitching change. One of the nice people in the game. Even though there's a rivalry between the Dodgers and Giants. Ground ball down to third. Could be two. They go to second for one. Back to first. Double play. So Anderson gets the RBI single against the lefty Lopez, and then Carletta in his first 2 men in the ball game, a 5-4-3 double play around the horn. A run, 2 hits, 1 left. 7th inning stretch time at Scottsdale Stadium. 8-5 Giants lead. Eight to 5 Giants as we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Good crowd on hand. Happy that you were with us today, and hope you join us tomorrow. The Dodgers will be actually just up the road a little bit at Talking Stick in northern Scottsdale.
You have to take your seat.
Simulcast also, radio and television, against the Diamondbacks. Brett Anderson will be against Alan Webster. We will join you on the radio side at 12:30. And Ben Rowan. Talk about a side armor for Javier Lopez. Well, for Ben Rowan, it looks like he's going to scrape his knuckles on the ground when he releases it. Signs of Ted Abernathy years and years and years ago.
Ben, those numbers you just saw were from AAA Round Rock, the Texas Rangers.
And the first pitch that he threw, I don't know if you folks heard it or not, the crowd reacted with an ooh when they saw the delivery. First pitch was downstairs, and Rowan, there's a scrape your knuckles underhand, kind of a toss. Pitch is fouled off, 1-1.
Yeah, he is really scraping the knuckles. I mean, you talk about submarine, he is almost bowling right there. Max is out about, what, 85, 86 miles an hour. That's it.
Ted Abernathy didn't throw particularly hard either. Fly ball that's fouled at home run distance. But 6 to 8 feet foul down the right field line by Justin Maxwell.
I remember Ted Abernathy, but I don't remember how low he was. Is he as low as what we're seeing here?
He was down there, and it looked like an optical illusion because Abernathy, a right-hander, as a left-handed batter. I had been told about it. It was my rookie year, and the breaking ball came up and in.
Yeah. Throwing from down there. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
But it's a different arm angle total. And trying to pick up the release point. Nice 95 for Justin Maxwell. He doubles down the left field line. Well, one thing is that for the Giants, they have not been shy at home plate today. That's their 4th double.
This one just floats up there, and Maxwell's able to get out in front a little bit, but hooks it down the third base line.
Well, Sanchez is the batter. I want to remind you also that Live Dodger Baseball is back 2015 with MLB.com at bat. on your smartphone or your tablet. Now you can stay connected with a live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Now download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. And if you have not tried it out, folks, it is fantastic to follow the game. Ground ball, and it's knocked down partially by Rowan. And picking it up is Barney, but he has no play, and advancing to third is Maxwell. So an infield single, a skate save by Rowan up the middle. So a club that was 14th in the National League in hitting at .242 has put their hitting shoes on, and that hit the shoe of Rowan there.
Well, I think the Giants are up for it too. They played pretty well the other night against the Dodgers over at Camelback Ranch. Bruce Bochy has said more than once, and we've mentioned it more than once, that he was not happy with the way the Giants were playing.
Harry Adrianza is the batter. Takes inside.
And that is Gary Brown on deck for the Giants. Right-hand hitter.
Rowan delivers, and it's swung on and missed. Actually foul tipped into the glove. 1 ball and 1 strike.
77-mile-an-hour sinker. Sinker, slurvy slider.
You know, sometimes managers get into trouble by actually vocalizing their opinion. Ground ball, base hit. Third consecutive hits. That knocks in a run. It's now 9-5 to San Francisco.
Good adjustment by Arianza right there after pulling off a 77-mile-an-hour sinker. He goes the other way, stays with it. It's actually a better pitch and a better piece of hitting by Arianza.
Hit it right through the hole perfectly. Gary Brown's the batter with first and second. Still nobody out here. Run across 9-5 San Francisco. Well, on this date, 1954, a manager vocalized his honest opinion about his team. Whoops. There's a breaking ball for a strike. Phil Cavarretta with the Cubs told reporters on this date that a team that he had little chance to finish in the first division of the National League.
Oh, yikes.
There's a strike and a count.
Okay. That's right.
He gets fired by the Cubs. 36-year-old player manager. He was in his 3 years at the helm, the first person. Well, if you're going to be first in something, he was the first manager to lose a managerial position during spring training.
Wow.
There have been others that have followed that. There's call strike 3, and Brown, with great dismay, is carrying some lumber back to the dugout. On this date, 1954, Phil Cavarretta is telling the members of the media, I really don't think our club has a chance to finish in the first division.
That must have done wonders for sales, ticket sales. And
Phil, would you mind coming here?
Yeah. Thanks for marketing the club.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone how the players feel about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Juan Perez batting. Rowan said delivers. Just missed outside. This was also the date that Charlie O'Finley, 1973. $10,985 on hand today. Good crowd, high temperatures in the 90s. Perez waits, and here's the 1-0. Popped up. Shallow left center field, coming on Witherspoon from center. Waiting for it, and he'll make the catch. Runners do not have a chance to advance at all. But on this date, 1973, Charlie Finley suggested orange-colored baseballs be used in a game against the Indians. Now, the concept is dropped from further experimentation when Indians outfielder and a former Oakland A, for that matter, George Hendrick, complained that he could not see the ball well enough to continue that experiment. But here's the catch.
Interesting.
Hendrick hit 3 home runs that day.
No kidding.
And he said he could not see the rotation of the red seams of the baseball. Now, Charlie Finley, by the way, is given great credit as being the first that ever thought of using different color balls. Oh, no, not accurate.
Who was it?
I believe it was in the 40s that they experimented with an orange color baseball.
Interesting.
Memory serves correct. But Charlie was never shy of saying it was me.
Naturally. Well, it's interesting too because in the 70s was Charlie the one with the orange around the glove for the catchers?
He was
for the target.
I'm not certain. The fly ball to center. Witherspoon is the recipient of that fly ball. A run across to left, and Kevin Kennedy will go to that magical thing called computer.
I'm going to look it up.
Expect an answer. To the 8th we go. 9-5 Giants. Nine to 5 Giants. San Francisco's gotten there on 17 hits. The Dodgers with 10 hits. One of those, the 6th home run of the spring by Jock Peterson. Yasmani Grandal's had an RBI double. Yasiel Puig an RBI double. Ethiers knocked in a run with a single, as did Justin Turner. George Cantos becomes the 4th Giant pitcher used in this afternoon's ball game. Good day to work. There are a few scattered, and I mean just wisps of clouds, but for the most part it is one of those curvature of the earth days. The horizon, as Monty Grandal starts it off and takes ball 1.
George Cantos has good arm, and you know, didn't make the postseason roster for the Giants, but he was in the wings, and he has got a big-time slider against righties.
Swing by Grandal, who's batting from the left side. The switch hitter fouls it off. Giants had one of those seasons you look at and you say, well, remember they had the lead early in the season.
Yeah.
Then the Dodgers came on with really vengeance. They reclaimed first place in the Western Division, and what were the Giants going to do? Well, what they wound up doing when it was all said and done, a world championship. Ground ball to second base. An easy play. Panic has it and throws him out. And for Grandal, he had 2 doubles tonight. 2 for 4, and that's out number 1 here in the 8th.
Time of the spring now, the catchers, especially in a split squad game, Grandal going the distance for the most part, at least to this point. Dodgers did bring up a couple of minor league additions to the roster. That may be it for Grandal today. We'll see. I found it, Rick.
You did.
It
As
was
the pitch is outside to Jacob Scavuzzo.
And should have known this. It was somebody we both know well. And now that I see it, I'm not surprised. Al Campanis. In 1975, introduced the orange fluorescent stripe around the perimeter of the mitt to help pitchers concentrate on their target. He's got the patent on it.
And that's assuming that the catchers actually hold their target up.
That's the idea, too.
Topic of conversation in the car this morning.
Yep.
Quite frankly, it's something they're trying to work with at A.J. Ellis. For that matter. Broken bat, you can hear it playing his day, and ground ball backhanded it short by Adrianza, but then he loses his footing. And it will probably go as an infield single by Jacob Scavuzzo. And it is indeed a base hit.
It's a good point you bring up. Take another look at ball hit off the end of the bat. And just slipping on the outfield grass. Scavuzzo will take the infield hit.
Luis Mateo is now hitting.
I remember I signed in 1976, and the Orioles had some of those catcher's mitts, and Rick Dempsey actually used those in the big leagues a lot there in some of those years.
Canto set, delivers. It's inside off the plate.
And you made a really good point about us holding the full face target is what I used to say. I hated to see guys have that half moon glove. You're not seeing a target. You're not seeing anything. Give them the full face target. Hold the glove up. Give them a good look.
I mentioned this yesterday. I don't remember if it was on the air or not. I've talked about it before. There's one pitcher that I played with, and against too for that matter, that did not really look at a target. He had targets of his own that he picked up.
Yep.
I'm talking about Jim Catfish Hunter.
Yep.
Had a brilliant career with the A's, and then went to the New York Yankees. And he made it an edict with his catchers, Gene Tennis and Dave Duncan at the time. 2-0 pitch into Jim Pagliarone as well.
Yep.
That he wanted his catchers to set up directly behind home plate. Center up, right on the plate.
Interesting.
He said, I don't want you to sit inside. I don't want you to sit outside for a couple of reasons. Pagliarone, Catfish said, look, I'm going to throw at your knees. I'm going to throw at your shin guards, and I'm going to throw at that slot to the left and right of your ears.
It's interesting.
And there's ball 4, and Mateo will go down to first base. But if you really look at it, and for those that are watching in the simulcast, if you look at the catcher from a center field angle, and if that view is of the pitcher, well, why would you not want the catcher centered up on the plate, and you're throwing to the shin guards and over each shoulder, because that over each shoulder signifies inside corner, outside corner, and the knees, the shin guards, also represent it. Here's the other thing the Catfish was saying. If you sit up in the center of the plate, the umpire always knows where to position himself. He's not chasing you around.
It's an interesting philosophy, and you can't argue with Catfish's philosophy. He's in the Hall of Fame. And he was a fabulous pitcher, obviously. I got to know him for 1 year at Dodgertown in the Hall of Fame fantasy camp, the one that type of camp you worked last winter. And boy, what a great guy. I know you were a teammate in that perfect game, right? You were out there.
I was there against the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
I believe Rich Reese was the last batter, and the count went full 3-2 for the perfect game.
The only probably 3-2 count he had the whole game. He was a great guy. I really liked him.
Kike Hernandez. Fly ball. That's hit well to left center field, and the outfielders are running, and they can run all day. They won't catch this one. Kike Hernandez has hit his 5th of the spring, a 3-run blast here in the top of the 8th inning for the Dodgers. It kept flying and flying and flying, and when it landed, it was a souvenir and the deepest part of left center field.
For Kike, add 3 more RBIs as well. That gives him 10 on the spring, so 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, and that's a legitimate home run, because this is not San Antonio where he showed some power. This is a big ballpark that we talked about earlier, and he just went down and got through that low pitch down and in and drove it completely out of here.
So Hernandez has number 5 in the home run department. Jock Peterson earlier had number 6 in the home run department. And this is a big yard, 430 feet to straightaway center. The power alleys are not marked. I was commenting earlier, they're a $2 cab fare from home plate. $3.60 down both lines. Darwin Barney fouls it off, and the count now 0-2. That trip around the diamond, by the way, sponsored by Daniels Jewelers. And for every Dodger home run, the Daniels Jewelers family donates to local children's charities over $500,000 over the last 4 seasons. Daniels Jewelers, making diamond dreams come true since 1948. 0-2 to Barney's high. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-run game, 9-8 Giants.
Yeah, it's a ball game now. A lot of base runners today. The pitching for both sides really hasn't been stellar. Been a lot of walks in this game, a lot of base runners. But it's a 1-run game.
Contos into the windup. The pitch is hammered down the left field line. Foul. A diving attempt on the back end by Duffy. Actually wound up in foul territory, as did the baseball.
Rick, I wanted to follow up on what you said about catfish, because I think as a catcher, if that's where the way your pitcher wants you, especially a guy that's had some years like catfish, then I think you do it as a catcher. You follow what he wants, what works for him. Other guys, I've had it both ways. Most of the guys that I've been said, hey, I want you sitting on the corners, and I want to see your body behind the center of the glove, your glove being the dot, the red dot or orange dot on a dartboard.
1-2. Drive to right field, coming in and now retreating, and over his head is Juan Perez. And Darwin Barney digging in for the double. A misplayed double over the head of Juan Perez, who broke in and then, oops, went back.
And ironically, Juan Perez in the postseason was considered their best left fielder, yet Travis Ishikawa was the guy that made some great plays out there. He's known more for his defense, and he just ran a bad route. 2 steps to his right. Once he did that, the ball was over his head.
Wasn't it Perez that they moved the positioning against the Royals and moved him over towards left fielders in left field at the time?
Yes.
If he does not move, the outcome of the World Series may have indeed been different.
Yeah, it was. And that's a big outfield we saw. And the Kansas City Royals, of course, play shallow. Really shallow.
Kansas City Royals, I noticed last year, and is a former center fielder. Kansas City Royals had an outfield last year that I really marveled and enjoyed watching them play. The old line about Gary Maddox of the Philadelphia Phillies, like Tug McGraw said, you know, water covers 2/3 of the earth, and Gary Maddox covers the other third.
I remember that. Love that line.
Breaking ball in there for a strike to Adam Law.
Well, and Rusty Kuntz, their outfield coach, he became kind of famous for people that didn't know him during the World Series. You just saw him with his hat off and on the end of the bench, and he was constantly moving the outfielders on counts and situations. And that's part of Ned Yost's game plan from the day Ned took over the Royals.
Ground ball sharply hit down to shortstop. They're going to come to third, and an easy out is Darwin Barney. And that is a case where you've got a veteran player, you're representing the tying run and not paying attention on where the defense has positioned themselves.
Yeah, that ball was hit too hard in front of him, number 1, to do that. Number 2, where was the shortstop? He was right there. It was hit right at him. And for Darwin, I mean, he skipped over it, but the ball was hit really in front of him and was hit too hard. So it didn't make sense to try to take third there.
No, that is a major base running blunder in a 1-run game, whether it be spring training or whether it be Sandlot. So now there are 2 outs, and what proved to be the tying run in scoring position now is all the way back over at first in Adam Law.
Rick, I know you and I have talked about this a lot, and I've learned a lot working with you the last few years about the outfield, but more than I ever knew, because I think it's one of the most under-taught things on a daily basis. Do you feel the same way, other than Kansas City?
I'm totally in agreement. Here's the 1-0 to Witherspoon, swing and a miss, 1 ball and 1 strike. There's a lot of damage that gets overlooked in the outfield. And the Kansas City Royals were able, in my estimation, to cover the ground, to back up one another and get jumps better than an outfield that I have seen collectively with any one team maybe in 20 years.
Yeah, me too. I remember working a 3-game series with you during the summer in Kansas City and seeing the 3 guys out there, the starters at that time, and then Dyson would come in sometimes later. Well, Dyson started a couple of games we were doing. And Gordon, Alex Gordon, Kane, Lorenzo Kane, and Gerard Dyson, I mean, forget about it. And I talked to Ned Yost years ago when he first took over. He said, we are going to work, and they work frequently on outfield defense.
1-1, swung on a miss, 1-2.
They throw to bases frequently. If they have a 10-game homestand, they will come out 3 days on a 10-day homestand. They'll come out on the road for early work, and they'll work on outfield defense, not just batting practice every day. And that was by design for Ned Yost. He felt that the same thing that we're talking about, that was the most underrated thing. And in their ballpark in particular, you had to play good defense there.
Pitch upstairs to Witherspoon. Meanwhile, back at the ranch and just watching what happens in center field. Watching in between. Gary Brown is out there, and Gary Brown, the last 2 hitters in between pitches, has been working on his batting stance.
I've noticed it too. I saw it.
Okay. 2-2. Runner at first is going. Swing and a miss, and that's going to bring the curtain down. The Dodgers do come up with 3 runs on the 5th home run of the spring by Kiki Hernandez in one of the area I know the coaches have been writing down. Darwin Barney, a base running blunder in the process. Just calling them as we see them. 3 runs, 3 hits, and a man left on base. 1-run game. Rick Money, Kevin Kennedy from Scottsdale Stadium. 9-8 Giants. Jacob Rami comes in out of the Dodgers bullpen. A couple of other changes. We'll get a chance. We will pass those along to you. And it's Andrew Suzak is the hitter. Well, if your scorebook is as full as ours, you know there's been a lot of players in this game. Fouled off and out of play. Adam Law, by the way, moves to second base. And Spencer Navin is now doing the catching for the Dodgers. Suzak, the pinch hitter.
Pretty good backup catcher, too, for the Giants. This guy can hit. Not then.
Not then. He swings and misses and strikes out.
On a 97 fastball. Right
so
there.
Jacob Rami, R-H-A-M-E. First batter that he faces strikes him out. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification all along the Dodgers radio network.
Like right the last minute I gave you that dirty look. I hit it for you this time.
Brandon Hicks now comes on as a hitter, and he flies out, but fouled on the right field line.
a good arm right here from Rami. He can get it up there to 100 miles an hour. We saw the strikeout to
he's a big old boy.
97, yeah. Good arm.
Yeah.
Rancho Cucamonga last year. No, Great Lakes. Great Lakes.
And a breaking ball outside. A power breaking ball at that. 2-1 is the count. He's not the least bit shy.
Rick, he punched out 90 in the Midwest League, Great Lakes last year. 90 guys in 67 and a third innings.
There's a base hit to the whole left side by Brandon Hicks.
He's out of Grayson Community College in Texas. Number 6 pick in 2013 for the Dodgers. And gotta love the arm. Didn't walk many either. Only 14 walks in 67 and a third last year.
And that's really something about a young power pitcher, because those are the guys that are normally, well,
all over.
Can be a little wild.
Yeah.
As catchers will say, well, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Catch. Matt Duffy is the batter, swings and misses. Duffy has gone the entire way today. Have you run out of room yet in your scoreboard?
I have. Yep. A lot of minor league additions today.
Drive into left center field. That's going to be for extra bases. Hicks around third. He's going to be waved in, and the relay throw is not made. Matt Duffy with an RBI double. It is now 10-8 Giants.
That's a fastball just right down the middle and up. And boy, Duffy squared it up nicely. Duffy was in the big leagues last year for the Giants for 34 games and hit 267. Did not have a home run, did have a couple of doubles.
It's one of those players that you can utilize him various spots. Justin Maxwell came on as a pinch hitter in the fourth, and he flied out to deep left center field and then doubled down the left field line in the seventh inning. Technically 1 for 3 today. Ten runs, 19 hits for the Giants. And they came in with the 14th lowest batting average of any National League team. And for Bruce Bochy, he has not minced words of his frustration. He said, look, you can be so patient, but sooner or later the guys have to play. Well, they have today. Line drive, base hit over the head of the Dodgers second baseman. Another run is in. 11-8 San Francisco. So Adam Law jumped as high as possible at second base, but not high enough.
That was a little hang. It looked like a slider up. So a couple pitches up in the zone right here. And the Giants get 2 of those runs back.
2-run inning. Still just 1 out. Hector Sanchez, the batter, had a single his last time up. Hector Sanchez hits it foul and out of play. We'll be back with you. Simulcast as well tomorrow on the radio side at 12:30 with a pregame show. Brett Anderson from Talking Stick. Just about a mile and a half, 2 miles north of where we are at the present time against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That should be interesting. The 0-1 fouled off and out of play since the Diamondbacks and Dodgers played the other day at Camelback Ranch, Glendale. 2 pitchers were ejected. The manager and then the acting manager were ejected. Justin Turner was hit multiple times. And the umpires had been told about the bad blood between the two clubs over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Bill Miller, the first base umpire, was the one that gave the warnings.
Ball cued off the end of that slow roller. Going to be trouble left side of the infield, and not in time with the throw. Luis Mateo fielded it going to his left, had a little trouble getting the ball out of the glove.
That's it. That cost him. A little squibber off the end of the bat, little cute shot. A lot of English on it.
Hector Sanchez has 2 hits in this game. If you added them up and you scotch taped them together, they would not go 120 feet.
Yeah. But he'll take them for spring training, although
you'd take him anytime.
You bet.
Here's Adrianza.
They never equal out.
No. You know who it said all things will equal out for hitters? Probably a pitcher.
Yeah, probably, because it certainly wasn't a hitter. Couldn't have said that.
Adrianza takes a strike.
Too hard.
Still just 1 out, 2 on, 2 in, 11-8 Giants.
You know, I thought, talking about the Diamondbacks tomorrow and the Dodgers and what could happen, I thought that Chip Hale, his comments post-game were kind of interesting. It made you think, like, well, I guess it was intentional because, you know, they came up and in on Trumbo. That wasn't intentional. Anderson didn't try to hit Trumbo. Kid was trying to throw strikes, getting through the first couple of innings and getting an opportunity. You know, he's probably going to start in Double-A this year for the Dodgers, but pitching in a big game, an A game in front of Don Mattingly and Rick Honeycutt, they just got away. As Oral at that game, Oral Hershiser was explaining the delivery, he was getting away from him, and a lot of balls were up and into righties.
Pitch inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
But for Chip Hale to come out the way he did in the post game, so well, that was too close. You know, that up at the head. You know, yeah, of course you're not trying to throw at the head.
Arizona, I think, is attempted. You can't blame him. Has attempted to turn the Dodgers and Diamondbacks games into more of a rivalry.
I think you're right.
Blame him for that. That's all well and good. It helps sell the tickets, the interest, and everything else. But it all started. I mean, how were the Dodgers to know that there was no lifeguard on duty that night? Ground ball down to second base. Could be 2. They go to second for 1. Back to first. Double play. So have your little rubber duckies if you're going to Arizona, because they don't like it if you go in the pool and the lifeguard is off duty. 2 runs, 1 left. We go to the 9th. 11-8 Giants. Top of the 9th inning, the Dodgers know exactly what they have to do. Score at least 3 runs to continue playing. 4 to take the lead. It's 11-8 San Francisco, and they go to the bullpen. Right-hander and hard thrower Gene Machi. Workhorse last year, 71 games. Ran an ERA 2.58. And only 5 home runs and barely a Mendoza line batting average against him.
And a good strikeout to walk ratio, 51 strikeouts, 18 walks.
Machi with a very loud fastball, and we understand a very quiet voice. You have to listen very closely to hear him. You don't have to listen very closely to hear the zip of the fastball going by. He's at 6 foot 230. Caps are being worn to shade the fans from the sun.
He's also got that split-fingered fastball he throws almost half the time, and that's what that first pitch was right there.
Lars Anderson is the batter. And for Anderson, had the RBI single against the sidearm left-hander Javier Lopez in the 7th inning, his first at bat. She was actually signed by the Giants a number of years ago and still loaned out to a team in Mexico, Diablos Rojos.
Interesting. You don't see that.
And he's been around a long time.
Yep.
He was originally signed by the Phillies, and 11 years later the Giants signed him. So he is not a spring chicken. But you'd have difficulty explaining that to Lars Anderson, who swings and strikes out. The Dodgers are down to their final 2 outs in this game.
Well, Machi will throw the fastball 37% of the time. As I said, the split almost half. So he throws that more than his fastball. So the split kind of sets up his fastball.
1 out. Joey Curletta is the batter. Big, strong, right-handed batter. Machi delivers, and it's outside. Today's Chumash Casino Resort 9th inning jackpot contestant is Susan Harris. And Susan, we keep her fingers crossed for you, because if the Dodgers win this game, Susan will win a free stay-and-play getaway at Chumash Casino Resort, located 2 hours north of L.A. in Santa Barbara wine country. Susan will also get a free night stay plus $100 in free slot play. If you'd like to enter to win, real simple. Just go online, am570radio.com.
It's a good spot. Been there. Good spot.
You've been everywhere.
Good entertainment. Well, just up and down the coast a little bit.
They must serve lobster up there, too.
They do.
Yeah, you wouldn't go there if they did. There's a strike 2-1.
I still have those visuals of you when you took a break and sent me pictures of all the lobster dinner you had, crab, and all the. I still have that picture, by the way.
If you don't, I have it on my phone.
That was impressive. Very impressive.
30-some pounds of lobster.
That's unbelievable. That was great presentation, as they say.
30-some pounds of king crab.
Was it all gone too? And is it just completely demolished? You guys finished it all? You had a lot of people over, right?
Yeah. Wasn't enough.
That's a lot. Really?
People, I mean, not food.
Oh, okay.
Ground ball fouled down the third baseline, 3-2. One more piece of business, by the way, and it's a good piece of business. Toyota's One for Everyone sales event is on sale right now, and it's the perfect time to get a great deal on your favorite Toyota car, truck, or SUV. But hurry. The One for Everyone sale ends March 31st. So make sure you see your SoCal Toyota dealer. Do it as soon as possible. And Kevin will throw in some lobster. 3-2 pitch. The payoff on the way to Curletta. And he pops it up. That'll be foul. Giving chase down the line and running out of room. Good crowd. 10,985 on hand. The misters are still on just at the end of the overhang, the grandstands.
You know, it's interesting. I meant to ask you something earlier. You were talking about the half field. I said, I wonder how many people out there listening or watching on TV don't really know what a half field is.
Well, it's a field with no outfield.
Because you don't see them anymore. Yeah. You know, it's where the infielders can go work, and you used to take infield by themselves, or the catchers can.
And Maury's Pit is an abbreviated half field.
Yeah, it is.
Camelback Ranch, Glendale.
Yeah.
Here's the payoff pitch again. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts. Gene Machi has made easy work against some of the Dodger youngsters.
You get a lot of work done on a half field.
Here's Spencer Navin coming on to pinch hit.
Catcher. Navin did a nice job, by the way, last inning, blocking some balls, taking advantage of his 1 inning of defense and actually working on things. I like it.
Well, the Beat LA chant took 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it finally arrived here at Scottsdale Stadium. Nothing like rallying around a sure thing, maybe, huh?
Yeah.
2 outs in the ninth. 11-8. Swinging to miss 0-2. Dodgers down to the final strike in this ball game. It's been Kane, Vogelsong, Lopez, Santos, and now Machi for the Giants. Giant fans on their feet. The 0-2 on the way. Ground ball. Base hit down the line. That'll roll near the corner. And on his way for the double is Spencer Navin. And the throw is cut off. Young Spencer Navin showing his wares behind the plate. Now shows off the offensive skills as well.
You take advantage. You get a 1 at bat and you get 1 inning of defense. You do everything you can to try to impress Tim Wallach, and maybe I'll remember him. You do. You remember when a kid plays hard like that, takes advantage of his opportunity.
So a 2-out double. Here's Jacob Scavuzzo. Scavuzzo came on the pinch run for Andre Ethier. Had the RBI single. Ground ball down to shortstop. Low throw and can't come up with it is the first baseman. Coming around from second to score is Navin. And the Dodgers now with 2 outs in the ninth inning will have a chance to bring the potential tying run to home plate.
Well, the kids are still battling and playing hard, getting the Dodgers back in this game. Bruce Bochy shaking his head.
Well, they're going to score that a generous infield single. It should be an error also on the throw by Adrianza.
Adrianza laid back on that ball too. He just didn't play it very well. Had nothing on the throw.
Luis Mateo is the batter. And again, Mateo represents the tying run. Keke Hernandez, who had the 3-run home run in the 8th inning, waiting on deck. Yeah, Bochy is not really thrilled with his charges. 1-0 pitch. Outside, ball 2.
No, after that play, Rick, I was looking down there at him in the dugout. I mean, if you're watching on TV, he was just rolling his head and shaking his head. I mean, those are, I mean, even though it's the backup guys and it's the end of the ball game here, he doesn't want to see that kind of play. Just like taking things for granted. He's not too happy.
Bruce Bochy, the manager of the defending world champion San Francisco Giants. 2-0 pitch on the way. This should end it. Ground ball down to second base. Panic is gone all the way. Ends the panic and throws to first, and that will bring the curtain down. So 3 hours and 15 minutes as the Dodgers lose their 8th game of the spring. Their record now falls to 14-8-6 ties. 8 runs, 14 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. 11 runs, 21 hits, and 1 error for the San Francisco Giants. Forget about the winners and losers. Time of game 3 hours and 17 minutes.